Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and Bigs and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now. Hey everybody, what's up? Tuesday morning here, and it is Jigs and Bigs. I'm Bobby Roast Beef. I got Sean the Fisherman with me. This is the first show of 2021, and it feels like an accomplishment. Like we made it. We successfully, we earned it. It feels like we've kind of crossed a brand new threshold here. We're really excited about 2021. So here we are. Happy New Year, Sean.
Happy New Year, my man.
That was very energetic.
2020 is in the rear view. 2020.
Yeah, very much in the rear view. But, yes. I mean, 2020 had some high points, too. I'm more than with at least for us with this podcast. And we talked about a little bit of that, 2020, even though it was a shit show as far as years in general, like for us, this was really great. For a lot of our friends that we've made along the way, they've also had great years, too. Mainly in finding, different outlets for our passions, whether they're for the outdoors or, there are some good points that are out there. You remember that short window of time, what was it, like last April, where there was no more smog in LA? You remember that?
Yes.
That was like miraculous. That was crazy. But, obviously, most people, 2020 left most folks with an overall bad taste in their mouth, and I can't blame them. But it's a fresh, clean slate. Obviously, like we're still dealing with the world as it is, but we got a nice, fresh, clean year to kind of get into and really put a lot of the stuff we've kind of been planning into practice. So as we kind of, grow here a little bit and get some things worked out, we're hoping to adapt and bring some new stuff to the show. But we have a great show for you today. Let's get into it. So as far as fishing goes around here, there's a few things that have been going on. First off, we had a nice little 60-degree locally. We had a nice little 60-degree pop over the Christmas holiday, which messed up a lot of the safe ice situations locally for us. But there are folks getting back out there on the ice now. Things have frozen up. At night, it's been in the 20s pretty regularly, so it's getting better. It's definitely getting better. Be careful. And Sean, you were out yesterday for a little while. Found some safe ice. That's good.
We did. I took a little scouting trip on Saturday with Nelson. We hit some of our little haunts up the Shears, and Saturday we only found really one place that was safe.
Yeah.
And with the weekend temperatures, or Friday and Saturday being kind of nasty, and the rain that came in too. We had sleet and rain.
That's right. Friday night that came out of nowhere. I wasn't even expecting it.
Yeah. So we got that, and then there was a thin sheet of water on the ice. That froze over into Sunday, which actually is good and bad. It's good that it was freezing, but it's bad because you get that real thin layer of ice on top, and you just crunch, and every step you think you're going through. That's
the messes with your head.
Hair raising, yeah. So we ended up having a pretty big how do I put this? Moving party on Sunday. A buddy of mine has moved cross country. He had to unpack his truck on Sunday. I rallied the troops. A few of us got out there, gave him a hand. And I told Nelson, and initially I thought I was going to be, fishing all day Sunday, and it didn't happen. So I did the moving, we all broke ourselves, and then a couple of us ended up getting out on the ice with Nelson after. I had such low expectations on that I only even brought a cooler and my grill, and then 3 tip-ups with my son, and good old cousin John was with us too. Yeah, it was actually pretty crappy too. Nelson's got some experience on this lake. A lot of small pickerel through the ice.
Yeah,
yesterday was
like 10
no
inches,
exception.
right?
Yeah, yesterday was no exception. So we had myself and Nelson, cousin John, Andy from the Fishing Report lives actually right down the street from this lake. So
nice.
He popped in real quick. He actually helped with the move too, because he's a coworker of the gentleman that moved. And who else was there? Oh, Nate Shagnon drove out.
Oh, that's right. Nate Shagnon. Nice.
Yep. Nate and his buddy John. John, I apologize, I didn't get your last name, but yeah, they're great guys. And Nelson's dad, Manny, who has recovered from, COVID.
Oh,
he got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
he had COVID. Okay.
Yeah, this is his first trip out since.
That's good.
He had a clean bill of health, so thankfully he's in good health. And no, we had a blast, man. I went out there and I cooked. Nice. And
so
I didn't touch a tip up.
Was this? Did you make your famous pizzas?
Okay, so the problem with that was I didn't have the famous fish to make said famous pizza.
Okay.
But I had the backup plan where I brought a dozen eggs.
See, this is why you need this guy with you. He's got a backup plan.
I brought eggs and I made backup breakfast pizzas.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, that was a good day. It was, it was cold out there. The ice was 5 inches thick, which was good, but it's not 5 inches thick everywhere. We could see a line that was right above a weed bed, and that line was our no-go zone, because when you got over that, it went from 5 to 2 real quick.
Oh, really? That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big change.
Well, weeds will retain the heat, and even a couple of degrees is going to make it harder for the ice to form. So.
Definitely does, man. It's like it doesn't take much.
Yep. I have a dude. You know what? As a matter of fact, on this topic, I actually have a negative review on something.
Oh, really?
On a piece of gear because of yesterday. Yeah. So every year, and I recommend this to anybody in any cold weather climate, that where you have to remove snow or you're going ice fishing or anything where you've got slippery surfaces. For the past few years, I've been going to one of the not consignment, but the one of the retailers that has kind of junky stuff and out of aftermarket stuff.
Oh, almost like a surplus store.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not going to get into what brand,
gotcha.
or what retailer. I went there and I've been getting cleats, these rubberized cleats that you put over your boots, and they have spikes on them. Right? Yep. They do wear down over time if you're using them on cement or on asphalt to do your driveways. But a few years ago, my father had a nasty fall. He and my mom are always out walking in various state parks, or we have a ton of places to walk around.
Yeah.
Here. So they go do their constitutional, and he slipped. He hit some black ice and he split his head open, and
really,
it was bad. Yeah, 2 staples. It was nasty, and he wasn't wearing those. Brought them those cleats.
Yep.
I bought extra large because everybody in my house is a giant. Everybody I'm related to is a giant. We're all tall people. These extra larges said men's 10 to 13. I couldn't get them on my son's shoes. And yesterday Brody slipped and fell and hit his head.
Oh, God.
I watched his head bounce off the ice, and I said, "Oh, Jesus, God."
Yeah.
So that pretty much, he was all right, and we're keeping an eye on him and make sure, God forbid there's a concussion. But yeah, that was pretty awful, and I am really pissed off at these cleats. So Nelson, a couple years ago, showed me the kind he's using, and I think I'm going to be changing over. They're like a chain, like a bike chain.
Oh, okay.
And on the bottom, they have these spikes, like big, almost like bent sheet metal. Like if you had a square of sheet metal and bent the corners down.
Okay.
They're phenomenal.
I think I've seen these before.
He uses them on the ice.
Yeah.
What?
I think I've seen these before. You actually get like multiple points on each spike that's in there to grab, ideally, a little bit better.
Yep.
Huh, no kidding.
So the ones I have, I'm very upset with, and I'm sure I'll continue to use them for myself. For like today, I got to go do the driveway, so I'm sure I'll be using them for safety. But going forward on the ice, I have a lot of misgivings.
Yeah,
because I watched them fall off, and then my son slipped, and that was that.
Yeah. That's not good. That sucks, dude. That definitely sucks. The
only down point to yesterday. Sorry.
what is the brand of those? I hate when they have like a size that's like a range, because there's obviously an ideal size where that product will work. And the rest of it is like, oh, well, it's stretchy maybe. I assume it's got like a rubberized strap that will hold it in place.
No, the whole thing's rubberized.
Yeah, so they're basically planning on like, if you're, this will fit loosely or will quote fit at this smallest size, and it will stretch up to this size. But there's obviously something optimal that's in there. Yep. Yeah, that does suck, dude. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I think what I'll do is I'll pick up a couple pairs on Amazon because my son and I like to ice fish. My other son comes out sometimes. Occasionally my wife will come out. They're just smart to have. I'll pick them up, give them a run, make sure they're the ones I like, and then we'll add them to our list of,
especially if they're adjustable in any way. That'll give you a little bit of adjustable, not just from being elastic, but oh, very nice, man. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Why don't we just touch on that? We kind of came in with the New Year stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the New Year and fishing for 2021 and some of the things that were out there. I have seen Abu Garcia had put together this little graphic that you could steal right from their Instagram story and fill out with like your goals, what you're looking forward to in 2021 as far as fishing. And it was really cool because they itemized it. I'm going to call it up so I can kind of know exactly what it was. But they basically had itemized the whole thing. And it was, basically, oh no, it was a look back at 2020. That's what got me. This was cool. Like how many days you spent on the water, what your PB was for the year, any tournaments won, new skills learned, memories made, favorite new gear acquired, things like that, favorite species fished for. Very cool idea. And it got me thinking about reaching out and doing something similar for listeners of our show. So I had put out a branded graphic of our own. It was basically like, what are some of the things that you hope to accomplish on the water this year? And the feedback was really good. I'll also put in there to make sure to tag us. There was only a few people that tagged us. I did see a couple others that popped up. So I have a few screenshots here from people who have recommended, who have commented on that. Is this gravy fishing? It is gravy fishing.
Eric.
Yeah. So he had commented in there and said some of his goals were to learn how to throw a jig right. Okay, fair enough. I'm 100% into that. Fishing with new people, always, you can never go wrong. Fishing with new people, even if it sucks, at least you know. You're like, these people suck to fish with, they litter, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's always better. And then he goes, I love this. Win a tournament. And in parentheses, he goes, maybe? I can get behind that. Western.mass.bass. Adam Laxton messaged one of these over to us. He goes, break my personal best of 4 pounds, 10 ounces. He goes, get better with certain baits. And in parentheses, he lists jigs, Texas rigs, drop shots, wacky rigs, and Ned rigs. Next up, buy a kayak. That is a great goal. That's a great goal because it's something that you are in charge of. You know what I mean? Like you can do things in your own abilities and in life and make that happen. That is a great one right there. Then he goes, fish a kayak tourney. Again, another great one. Absolutely. Even if you borrow somebody's kayak to use it to do it, go for it. Like try it. And then continue to grow as an angler. Obviously a great one. Now we got one other one in here. And who sent this? Oh, this one was from our buddy Albert out in Texas. And he goes, smash my PB of 4 pounds, 11 ounces. He goes, be proven. I love this one, by the way. He goes, be proven wrong that bass more than 2 pounds live in Canyon Lake, Texas. And I've fished bodies of water even locally where I'm just like every fish is just it's a nibbler. It's just they're all nibblers, and there are scientific reasons for why that can happen. While you'll have stunted fish but honestly, most of the time. It's just that you're not finding the bigger fish. Sometimes you just have a large, ratio of those nibblers, and they're scrambling to feed. So they might be the ones that are getting to the bite first. But keep at it, man. Keep at it. Trust me, dude. They're in there, and I've never even been to Texas. Give reaction baits a fighting chance to produce for me instead of casting twice and then being done. This is the best thing I've read. Out of anything that's come out, that's great because I'm a really, really big believer in versatility and being as well rounded as you can be, and sometimes that means like pushing yourself to fish techniques that you don't necessarily want to, so that if you're in a situation, you're just like, wow, it really would be nice if I like to fish this way with these conditions I'm dealing with, that I knew what the hell I was doing. You know what I mean? So that's really great. And talk about like enriching your fishing experience. I'm in the same boat actually with a lot of reaction. The baits that I have the least confidence in, spinnerbait, chatterbait, crankbaits, lipless. I mean, those are the baits that I have the least amount of confidence in. I'll tell you what, for me, a lot of that has to do with snags. It doesn't even have with getting bites. It's the exposed hook. So you'll notice, and Sean, you've seen this. I'll throw a lot of those weighted, like the underspins with a paddle tail on there or something like that. And it does the trick, but it's something about like that confidence of like, okay, well, this is a little bit more weedless. I started fishing a chatterbait that had, I'm going way off on a tangent.
Keep going, man. This is what we do.
That has a wire weed guard that hooks right underneath the barb of the hook. Fantastic. Like it gives me a little bit of an edge, but I actually have a goal in mind with a very specific lure that I want to do the same thing. I want to start putting myself in a position where I'm going to start not relying on this. I'm going to give this its time. I'm going to give it its opportunity to kind of flourish. And then he says, oh yeah, continue to prove that traditional tackle is the better method of fishing over swim baits. He goes, in parentheses, he says, I live for the fight of any fish, no matter the size. And then, continue to get better with finesse fishing, especially the drop shot. I don't want to touch that swim bait thing because I don't want to touch it. It's not my place. Okay, if that's your goal, Albert, it's cool, man. And then I did another post where I just put like a questions field where people could like leave anything. And I said, what are some of the resolutions for fishing that you have that maybe you want to start paying attention to or kind of call out now? And we got a lot of really good stuff. But one of the things that I noticed in there was probably about like 35 to 40%, and it was a little higher than I expected. I figured about 20%, but about 35 to 40% of the people who commented, it was a lot. It was probably about 25 or 30 people. Most of those, or I should say that cut, 35 to or 35 to 40% of them wanted to break a PB, regardless if it was weight or if it was length, whatever they were measuring. They said that their resolution was to break a PB, and I think that we really kind of have to just start thinking about personal best as that ongoing unsaid resolution. Of course, we want to break our records. Of course, we want to exceed what we were doing before, but a lot of that is left out of our control. Right?
I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that really is, and it's while it's obvious. I mean, of course, you want to break your PB. I think that's kind of a given. If you're going to, if your mentality is, I'm going out to fish today and I'm breaking, for me, I need to break 19 3/4 inch. If that's what my goal is, I'm going to be kicking my own ass every time I go out there because there's always a fraction of that's just right place, right time. And it's one thing if like, I mean, I hate to say it because I know some people are really great with finding fish, but finding big fish in a body of water is a huge challenge. Like finding fish is one set of challenges, but then discerning where the large fish are versus the small fish for whatever reason, that's like a whole rabbit hole that you can go to try to figure that out. You would be better served learning new techniques, learning new bodies of water, putting yourself into different situations to enrich yourself as an angler, to then almost just like intrinsically, because you've done this, you're more likely then to be able to get that big fish because you'll have, a little bit more skill set, a little bit more preparation, and not be relying so much on, just right place, right time.
Yeah. And to supplement that, remember that picture I sent you a couple days ago? Did you really look into what I sent you about that?
Yeah.
So the big thing with that is do all of those things.
Yep.
And document it.
Well, yes.
It's so important if you want improve your fishing, to document what you're doing, because I'll just give you a great example.
Yep.
So there was a plastic creature I was using for years and years and years, and I always caught fish with it.
Yep.
And the first 3 years I started doing my fishing log from 09 to 11, I just did what I did. I just went out there and did what I did. And when I looked at that, yeah, I caught a lot of fish with that lure. Man, they were small. They were small fish. They were not what I needed to go to take my game to the next level. And I went away from it, and it's paid off. I mean, I really now at this point, I showed you, you and I were talking about goals and this and that, and I kind of went off on a tangent with looking at my records over the past, 12 years.
Yep.
And I actually broke my fishing down into 3 distinct eras. And if anyone's going to start documenting their stuff, I really highly recommend you do this. Okay.
The eras, like, what do you mean by eras?
So 09 to 11 was the do what I'm doing and document it. Document everything. Just blindly document everything. Gotcha. I'm doing this. This is what I caught fish on. This is every fish I caught. And then evaluate it after that 3rd year of consistently fishing. Right.
I gotcha.
The next era is implementation. So from 2012 to 2018, I was implementing. All right. And my catch rates improved, particularly. I keep a tab on my file.
Yep.
On that Excel file that shows, because I think 17-inch fish, a 17-inch largemouth or smallmouth, is where you're going to start seeing an effect on tournaments. Okay.
Yeah,
so with me being a tournament angler,
yeah.
16, you could go to a tournament and everybody catch 13s, but if you start talking 17s, I think that's, you're going to be in pretty good shape. If you're in a 3-limit tournament, a 3-fish limit tournament, and you get 3 17s, depending on how everybody else does, you probably got a good shot,
And honestly, I would say that for the non-competitive angler, that using that measurement mark and using length, because it's linear, it's not based on the season, but using the length, a 17-inch fish is kind of like that asterisk spot where you're like, okay, we're starting to get keepers. We're starting to get good fish. You know what I mean? Like, it's that note that's like, okay, these aren't just, crazy nibblers that are just biting on on whatever. No, this is something like it's almost noteworthy at that point, Yeah,
17 inches usually kind of denotes, and this is so broad in general, just based on my documentation, 17 inches, you're starting to talk over 2 pounds getting towards 3. That's just very general. You could find a 3-pound 17-incher. You could find a 1.5-pound 17-incher, but on average, a moderately, not a fat and not a skinny fish, 17 inches is going to be around 2.5 pounds.
Yep.
Just broad general based only on my documentation, not, like on a side tangent. You went off on a tangent. I'm going to go off on a tangent.
Go for it.
On a side tangent, it always drives me nuts, especially now that some tournament government bodies are doing this. This is just insane, where it shows if you're in a kayak and you're fishing against bass boats, which some places allow.
Yeah.
And there's an actual translation thing that shows, or there's a translation table that shows if you got a 17-inch fish, that's automatically 2 pounds. Oh, that is rough. Where are you getting that data from? Like, are you taking a 500 fish average? Are you taking a 1,000 fish average? From what state? There's too many questions I have with that. So what I just said about that 17-inch fish being so heavy, that is from my data, because I used to weigh fish as well as measure them, and that was off a certified scale.
And that's a good practice anyway. So that, and use the same stuff, take measurements and figure out what you're catching. And that's the thing. I think that, and I had mentioned this before we started recording about that ratio that I forget who said this, but there, and I've heard it applied to different things before. You have a ratio of 3 elements to equal success. There's 100% in total, and you have the preparation element of it, you have the experience and skills piece of it, and then you have luck. So if you're lacking in preparation and you've got only a set certain skill level, you're relying on luck to carry you the rest of the way. If your skill level is unbelievable and you put a little bit of preparation into it, you then are pushing down on the amount of help you're going to need from luck to have that success. But if you don't do any preparation, or you're doing all your preparation and then you've got minimal skills, like, you're still working toward that other angle. And part of preparation is not just like the obvious, I think, is looking at charts, looking at maps, figuring out the water, where where you are, looking at weather patterns, looking but even greater than that, and this ties exactly to what Sean was saying, are the details of your past experiences with that when they weigh in. So, maybe you're like, this is, really deep, blah, 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 blah. But you're like, no, I remember going over there and there was a really, really thick bed of grass. So that might change what you're going to throw for that day. It might change some of your approach. Maybe you'll look at, the quality of the water for that time of year that you've, been dealing with. Well, I'm talking water clarity, and it's going to be for whatever, maybe you're going to change a color or something like that. So your data is really, really important. And there's a million different ways to track it, but the more organized it can be, the better, because then you can access these bits of information and then build on them.
Yeah. And to wrap up that little the analysis that I sent you the other day of my own history. So that second era, the first era being document,
Yep.
do what I'm doing. Second era was starting to apply what I've learned.
Yep.
And that was the biggest first thing on that. Again, I always say this, the reason I started this fishing log was to save myself money on lures. That's the bottom line. It was not to catch bigger fish. It was to save myself money on lures to see what I'm using or what I'm having success with. And that was it, right? So that 12 to 18 was the implementation part, but that was, 2012 to 2018 was the last, 7 years of my military career. So I had 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So my time was limited.
Exactly. So it's probably for the best that you went that many years, implementing this stuff to kind of then. So what's the third? What's the third phase? The
I
third
got time.
Era? Yeah.
You see like 2 distinct jumps between those eras, like distinct.
Yeah.
So when I look at my numbers, like on average, I'm doing this math in my head. On average, from 2009 to 2011, again, with military work and having a full-time job and young kids at that time too, I was averaging about 150 to 175 bass a year. All right. Out of all those bass a year, 10 of them would be over 17 inches. That's on average.
Okay.
All right. So that's about 6 to 7%.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my numbers here now. Okay. From 12 to 18, on average, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those years. I caught over 300 largemouth. Okay. Make it 5 because one of them was at 290. And then the last 2 years, 17 and 18, I had changed some roles and there was some things going on in life. And I didn't get out fishing as much. So those are kind of outliers. Like they're steady from 12 to 16, but because this is, again, all in the implementation part and time was affected by work, I was averaging about 8%. So you can see that I jumped from 6 or 7% to 8% with time constraints. So 10, what I'm saying, 7, 8% of my fish were, over 17
Over
inches.
17, yeah.
And also part of that too was I was going to and from Oklahoma. So that affected those numbers too.
That's true.
19 and 20 last year and the year prior. My numbers almost tripled in some cases. So I went from catching around, 300 or 275 fish a year of largemouth to 2019. I caught 515. This year I caught 606.
That's unbelievable, man.
2019, 64 of those fish were over 17 inches. This year, 58. So now I'm over 10%.
Yeah.
So I saw that jump. And a lot of that has to do with fishing new waters. I really honestly, I think end of 2019? Might have been end of 2019, midway through 2019. I had made a decision on the water. I made 2 decisions, one of which was lure related, another which was something else entirely.
Yep.
And those decisions just knocked my numbers through the roof, especially on big fish, where I mentioned, I think the last time we did an actual weekly podcast episode, not the best of, that I had 2 weeks in the summer of 19 where it was just I brutalized 2 lakes. I had taken a technique that I was already comfortable with and put one little twist on it. Mm-hmm. And that's all it did. And it works everywhere now.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
And I've applied that this year. So yeah.
No, I love it, man. I think.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Let's wrap up so we can go into goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's all I'm saying. Like, documenting it and seeing what you're doing and being honest with yourself.
Yep.
I have no problem. Seriously, 606 fish, 58 of them were over 17 inches. That means that's what, 540 something small fish.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm getting better. I'm looking at this data. I'm getting better as a fisherman.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm applying what I've learned.
Yeah.
So it's all good. And then on top of that, when I think about that too, like we all know that, every bass, the numbers in a lake, they're not going to be an inverted triangle. They're going to be a triangle, the biggest fish being on top. There's only going to be one or two big fish or really big fish or a number of them. And it's going to percentage down. There's going to be more 17 inches than there are 20s. There's going to be more 14 inches than there are 17 inches. I get that. So maybe I'll play around with that some more and see how that triangle actually looks because I have all that data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just kind of funky.
Yeah. No, I think, and that kind of plays right into like the goals. Because that's one thing that we were talking about were goals. So goals, things that I want to do, fishing related that are in 2021. So first off, I want to fish with way more listeners. I want to do that's a given. That's just going to happen. I mean, it's not something I have to necessarily worry about. This podcast is going to have a lot of stuff going on, but I do want to take advantage to try to include listeners when I'm getting out on the water locally as often as I can. I'm all about that. So community's great. I'm definitely all in for it. As far as skills, there's a lot here, and my list of goals is primarily skill driven. First off, I want to, the main skill that I want to learn is I want to learn how to read water. I want to learn how to do my homework in advance. I want to learn how to go and put a plan together in advance and then, push myself to try to stick with it. So this way I can go, I can figure out where my more likely spots are to find fish, the proper way in advance of fishing those areas, instead of just going and like throwing whatever is, there until I catch something and then working from that and then using that same kind of idea the next time I go to that water. I actually want to be able to look in advance before fishing a place and know that this is the plan. I'm going to start over here in this corner for this reason, and I'm going to work my way around here, or then I'm going to cut across to this because of the likelihood. I want to figure out how to read water. I think that is huge. I have caught 99 largemouth in 2020. I want to catch 100.
Perfect.
That's the goal.
Great. That's
the goal. One. I want to and of course, do I want to beat my PB? Absolutely. I want to put a 20-inch replica on this wall right behind me. That's the goal. But when it happens, great. I'm not going to give it a timeline or anything like that. The other thing too is I want to build confidence using. I'll say, moving baits with trebles. And I'm going to start in two places. I'm going to start with a lipless crank, and I'm going to include jerk baits in there as well. I want to start building confidence with those two baits. Oftentimes, I will throw a chatterbait or I will throw an underspin in place of throwing a lipless crank, and I feel like I feel like I lean on those baits a little bit as a crutch for, because of the treble hooks. I don't want to get, snagged up in a bunch of weeds or anything like that. I gotta, and I know that I'm not throwing, like when it comes to lipless cranks, I'm not throwing them on the right gear. I'm throwing them on too heavy of a rod, and I've got to slow way down because I like to lean toward much faster gear ratio reels. But again, I can adjust for that. My biggest issue with that is I often will, kind of like Albert, I'll throw a lipless, get 3 or 4 casts into it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just pulling up too many weeds. Cut it right off, throw a chatterbait on. I'll even throw a spinnerbait on if, instead, just because I'm like, well, there's only the one hook point. That's just what there is to deal with.
Can I give you a really good tip on how to visualize water? And this anybody who's listening to this is a great analogy. You ever play Battleship?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so you don't know where the enemy ships are?
Yep.
All right, you go on the water, you don't know where submerged weed beds are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you want to fish the edges of them with that lipless crankbait.
Yep.
Okay, you cast your crankbait out. You can figure out you want to start with a long drop or you want to start with a short drop. Figure it out whichever way you want.
Yep.
Count down. So you throw your lipless out there. Well, I counted 1 second, didn't get any weeds when I got it back, and started reeling after the 1 second,
Yep.
Next time you do it. around the same area. Try 2 seconds, see if it gets down further without getting weeds. Next time, 3 seconds.
Yep.
You're figuring out where the weeds are by how that thing's dropping, and then bringing it back that way. And on top of that, it'll bring it back down. It's tough. Like with weed beds, I like to fish them parallel.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't fish into them. I fish parallel with them. So that's how I do it. I just count down. And if I count down, usually like to start with, what I'll do is whatever the depth of the water is on my fish finder, I'll cut that in half. So if I'm in 8 feet of water, I'll throw that out there and say, give it 4 seconds. That's usually where I start. And then I modify from there.
Yeah. So are you looking for it to come back with weeds on it? Then to either go back up, a click or half a click.
Yeah. Or if it doesn't, I can go deeper.
That's exactly it. So yeah, you're basically waiting to see where those weeds start coming up with the bait.
That's just my method. I didn't read that anywhere. I just kind of figured that out on my own. I'm like, all right, well, I'll take the depth, cut it in half, see where the weeds are. And then the thing is though, like, I think that's the number one thing I hear about crankbaits is people don't want to get weeds on them. Yeah. Dude, that's where the fish are.
They are. No, you're 100% right. And I feel like that's part of, like, I will do a lot of just flipping a jig right into the weeds and, or a TCR or something like that, because you're right. That's exactly where they are. I think it's just for a lot of folks, I think it's more about the confidence of like, with, when you're throwing out a bait that's got 6 or 9 different points to get hooked on, you're looking at a situation where you could run into it. Plus, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. For a guy that doesn't throw crankbaits, I'll bet you I have more crankbaits. Maybe not. I was going to say, I'll bet you I have more crankbaits in my boxes than you. But
I bet you do.
I don't throw them often, and I'll tell you what, they're always in all the boxes that I receive. And it's like, I've tried a couple that I really like. Like, I tend to lean through, I'll throw more square bills than anything else. The extension to this, that I plan on going further is I really want to figure out how to fish deep, because even as a kayak angler, I still fish with the mentality of a bank angler. Yeah. I'm still beating the bank and I'm looking for cover that is up shallow. And just because in my mind, like I understand that much, much better. When it comes to like fishing, really, really deep stuff. And some of these are in with presentations that I have a lot of confidence in, like drop shots. Ask me to drop shot in 40 feet of water. And I'm like, duh. Like, I mean, it's a little bit of a different animal than when you're drop shotting, say 6 or 8 feet, 5 feet of water,
I can tell you right now.
Yep.
I don't think I'm trying to think of all the places I fish, and I don't think I fish anything deeper than 15 feet.
There's one body of water. I went out with Tim Jacks, and we were at 40 feet a few times, and he was fishing a drop shot and having results with it. I was not experiencing that at all, and I'm like this is. I even told him, I was like, this water is so unbelievably deep. Like, I have no idea. But there's times of the year where you may want to go and try to find them deep if that's where they are. Like in the crazy heat of the summer, like. It's like throwing a crank down there that's getting you down, 18 feet, 20 feet, something like that. I mean, I have no confidence in anything like that. So my thought is eventually I want to have a good idea of like, okay, well, I'm not finding them shallow. If you're not finding them shallow, they're probably a little bit deeper. I'd like the confidence of knowing eventually that like I can get them when they're deep. I can get them in the holes or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I'm trying to think really. The most I'll do is I have no problem sending a Ned rig deep.
Yep.
It's just a matter of waiting.
That's exactly it. It's just time.
And then the other thing I throw deep will be lipless crankbaits. I'll just let them sink. But I don't use deep divers anymore. I found they're just they're a tool I don't use enough, or they're so specific that I won't use them. Honestly, all my crankbaits, I've got lipless and I've got square bills, and that's it. Because I even got rid of regular diving crankbaits because honestly, you can throw a regular diving crankbait in open water around weeds, but you can throw a square bill around those two and wood.
Yes.
So like I just again versatility on those. So I just use square bills of various sizes.
And it's funny. There's part of the reason why I'm leaning toward focusing on lipless is because they sink, and I can then use that to fish multiple depths. I mean.
cousin John told me a story.
Oh, all right.
So this is about, by the way, I'm going to go off on a quick 1-sentence tangent here. I apologize for not putting up a fishing report for the past 2 weeks, comma, I have had nothing, period. That being said, I do have one thing. John got out a couple of days ago. He was fooling around for trout and he was throwing a lipless, right? He said it was great. The first thing he caught was like a 17-inch brownie. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, man. And then he goes, and then tragedy struck. I said, what happened? He said, I threw the same lure. And he goes, something absolutely smashed the shit out of it.
Oh,
and he goes, and it towed me. And he's borrowing right now my old Ascend.
Yep.
So he got towed around in that Ascend, which is a barge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he said it took me all over the place. It went left. It went right. He goes, I saw it come up to the surface once. He said it had a brown back. So it was either an off-colored pickerel, a brown trout, or a smallmouth. He thinks it was a smallmouth, by the way. It was fighting. Just from what he's telling me, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I think there's a distinct possibility of it being a big brown trout, especially seeing as they're already hitting the lures.
That's true.
That he was throwing. So he said it dragged him all over the place and finally went under the boat, came around, twisted him around, and snapped his line. And he was using 15-pound fluoro. So I said, well, that kind of lends it to more of a brown or a pickerel. Just guessing again. I wasn't there.
Yep.
But he said that he had not backed the drag off. So that's what did it.
Oh,
the fish wasn't pulling line as it should. And I said, John, you're 2 years into this. I said, he's already got two fish over 20 inches just from the past year. I said, it's just a learning process. I had to learn. I said, it's probably been the past 5 to 10 years where I really feel I've gotten a hold on drag. And sometimes with some lure, I'll make a change and I'll find myself out of my comfort zone.
Your window.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of dialing it in. But as far as that goes, you throw a chatterbait, right?
I throw a chatterbait. Yeah.
Dude, if whatever rig you're using for a chatterbait, use that for a lipless crankbait, unless you're using like a real heavy.
Yeah. Well, and that's same thing there. I'm using, so for all of my chatterbaits and my chatterbaits, my spinnerbaits, and keep in mind, like generally these are going around anywhere from a quarter to a half ounce, and they're capping it at a half ounce. I'm really not throwing anything much heavier than a half ounce. But I'm using it on a 7-foot medium heavy with a 7-speed reel.
That's fast.
That is fast. That is very fast. Now I have a couple of 6s and I have a couple of other rods, and I'm considering just spooling up one of those 6s with and putting it on. But I'm also at the same time I'm thinking, I'm like, well, every single rod that I have is either a medium heavy or a heavy. I akin that a little bit to being on a small vessel and wanting a little bit more backbone because my boat can move really easily. It's not like I'm on a huge bass boat or the bank. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I definitely, and I will say that, like, using the heavier rods, I have way better hookup ratios in the kayak than when I'm fishing on the bank. I feel like I rip it right out of their mouths when they're on the bank. So I've started actually throwing like jigs on a medium heavy, and use it leaning more to when I'm bank fishing, utilizing that 7-foot medium heavy on the bank and bringing a couple of, spinning combos with me. My thought is, I'm thinking I need to add a medium bait casting rod into the mix.
Yeah, I can tell you, I use mediums up in Minnesota because I do throw a lot of deeper, like 10-foot divers, because the lake that we fish, or that I fish the most up there, has it has a submerged weed bed that goes down. I think it's like 8 feet below the surface most of the time. So I'll throw 10-foot divers in there, and then just depending on the line diameter, makes it. Do I want it to go deeper than that or not? Yeah. But here I don't. Like I said, that the setup I have for my chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, lipless crankbaits, and square bills is really the textbook setup that most folks should be using for that. It's a medium heavy 7-foot rod with a slower, in my case, it's the slowest I can get with that 5.4 or 5.1. I go with an incredibly slow reel on that. But I might have to go to a 6 because we've discussed my issues with that reel over numerous episodes. So I might be finding myself having to go to a 6 when I don't have a choice, because I really do like using loose reels. That's just me.
No, it's understandable.
And to say a negative about them, they decided to stop making that 5, and I have to.
You got to shop around now.
I don't want to shop around. I like loose reels.
I know, man.
You know,
I know,
it's
dude. I hear you, man.
It's murdering me. So I might have to try a 6 and see if I can work that slow enough to get what I'm accomplishing.
You know what, man? I'll tell you what. I have we're sitting right over here. I have two 6.3 to 1 gear ratio Black Maxes. You can take one and try it.
All right, I'll give it a roll.
Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, it's worth it.
Yep. And then I string those up with some backing line that I get from, good old Wally World.
Yep.
And I mean, you can, but like I said, we get those spools of like, what is it, 1,500 yards of crap, giant spools of big game.
Yep.
I use that as backer. And then I put 15-pound Seaguar and Vizix on there, and I never had any problems. I actually went up from 12. I was using 12 in 2018 or 19. I said, you know what? I'm kind of working this stuff through some nasty shit, and I'm just going to bump it up. And I have not noticed any issues. So, but that's all 4 of those things: spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, my search lures, lipless crankbaits, and square bills. I use them all for that. And it's a simple one-stop shopping thing, and I don't have to worry about it.
No, that definitely makes sense. And, it's funny because I here I am talking about goals, and I'm saying, on the one hand, I want to take and look at, my pre-fishing preparation as far as knowledge about the water, things like that. But also I'm talking about improving on like exactly that, search baits. And really, I feel like those two things kind of go right together, because if you can cover water really effectively, and I mean, this goes like for other presentations too. Like I have, the jigs that we put in the jig kits, they lend themselves so well to working as a swim jig. They really do. Like it's not the ideal line tie for them or head shape, but they will 100% work, especially in a pinch, especially with that the one we have with the chartreuse head. What is that? Yes. Native perch.
Native perch. That's my guy.
That native perch right there, I'm telling you, is just it's just a killer swim jig. So it's like having some confidence in other search techniques, and having like a general breakdown of what's going on in the water. I think right there, I'm going to see. I will. My hope is that in a year's time, I will see a significant amount of efficiency for the amount of hours that I've put in the water. I think I did about like something. I forget how many hours I put on the water, what I calculated it down to. It was like 12 hours a week is what I was putting in there before. Not too bad. There were some weeks where I would go out, and fish 5 days? Some weeks I'd get out all 5 days, and
nice.
I mean, some of those windows were for just a couple hours. But within there was always a day or two where it was a full day. So thanks to the pandemic, I had the time to do it. What I mean? So what I'm hoping to do is, though I know time is precious, I want to try to improve my time so that number can either go down a little bit and I can see the same results that I have, or if I'm fishing that much, I can see that number of catches increase.
That'll show that you're improving your efficiency on the water. You're getting out there and you're catching more fish in your allotted time. It's a good goal to have, man. I mean, if you feel that you need to be stronger on that, go for it. And I'll tell you whatever I can to help you out with it. And you've seen my tackle. I don't open my tackle box to everybody, but I've shown you this is the limited amount of shit I use and bring with me. I have complete faith in it, and this is why.
It's interesting because there's times where we have fished, and I have got like one time that comes to mind. And this is how like you and I do fish completely differently. In this one instance comes to mind. Remember when we got together with the Lunker lads and with Andrew and Bill from Hookside Hoodlums? Before we went over to Old Glory? That was an amazing day. We had a great time. And I went out there with a plan in mind. And this is what happens almost every time when I'm out on the water. I'll get out there and I'll say, all right, so I've got a moving bait that I've got confidence in, and I've looked into the water clarity, and I've gotten some feedback about things. I look at the water before we even launch, and I make sure and I'll change things out that I need to. So I'll give you an example. My moving bait that I'll throw on generally as a safeguard is one of the, I have some right over here, but it's that quarter ounce underspin from Reaction Tackle with a paddle tail, usually like a 4-inch, like an Exo Swim or a Saucy Swimmer or something, or a Kitech. And I'll basically change out that plastic depending on what the conditions are like of the water when we get there. If it's really cloudy, I'll throw something darker on. If it's super duper clear, I'm going as natural as I possibly can. And I throw that down because it's relatively minimalist, like it's not too over the top, and I've got some confidence with it, and it works as a search bait, which is great. I've always got a jig tied on. Generally, I've got my favorite colors there, and I like to ride pretty natural with those for the most part. I also always have on some type of a top water with the intentions of what we're fishing. So if I know that there's a lot of slop on top of the water, I'll have a frog on. If I know that it's pretty much well open and I'm not going to have any kind of an issue, I'll throw a plopper or I'll throw a buzzbait. And then I've got, what's my other rod will be more of a finesse rod where I'll either have like a size down, actually, if let's say we're talking summer, like this one instance, I'll have either like a weightless stick bait or I'll have a drop shot tied on there. And what'll happen is I'll go out and I'll start trying to search, and I might not necessarily find anything, but I'll find like some juicy cover that looks good. So maybe I'll switch over to the jig for a little bit and cast over here. And then what ends up happening is I start playing this game in my own head, and I'm changing out lures based on, maybe they'll bite on this versus like taking a step back and going, where the hell am I? Where is this? And I'm not thinking about that necessarily. Sometimes it's more about, the things that visually I'll see. Like I can remember fishing one great body of water where I went out, and the sole purpose of fishing this one day was to get out before the sun came up and then fish the hell out of that BBZ rat. And I had an amazing day with this thing. Like that was killer. But I had fished this pond before, and I was able to take the knowledge of what I had from the last time I was there and say, I had no luck over here. And I went to the entire opposite end where I had never fished before. And I just used the visual cues from what I was looking at. Beaver huts, points, just things that stuck out to me. And I had amazing, amazing success that day. And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if I can combine improving my strategy using the knowledge of the body of water where we are and specifically charts and I need to know things like depth is huge. Like not having any electronics at all. There's on the one hand you're at you are at a little bit of you have less of an advantage because you can't just look over at your screen and know like what the depth is of what you're looking at or see any cover necessarily right behind you. And maybe that's something else I need to add in, throw in a fish finder and go that route. But I don't know, we'll figure it out.
A cheap fish finder is a good way to go. I mean, I don't use crazy ones. All I use it for is honestly temperature and to see both weeds and the depth. That's all I use my fish finders for. I know there's guys that have the pan optics and all sorts of other wacky shit.
Yep.
I don't use that. I mean, I think that's something I should learn.
Yep.
I have no doubt about that. It's definitely an advantage when you're fishing with highly competitive or highly skilled competitive fishermen. Yeah, if they know how to use that stuff, they're eliminating a lot of water.
It gives them a big, big, big advantage. It really does. But I mean, with all that said, like there's a price point.
I'm not paying as much as a kayak for a fish finder.
And that's the thing. If I'm going to invest in a fish finder, what I need to do is I need to start just learning. That's part of the reason why I was playing around with the idea of utilizing that Deeper Chirp Plus. As my fish finder, because this way I can utilize it on the bank. I could utilize it in the kayak. I could bring it on a boat if need be. And again, thinking minimalist, instead of having two separate pieces of electronics, my phone is now communicating as the, so, I mean, that's a little bit more of a jump in price from some of the lower end fish finders. But even if I end up going that route and stripping it down a little bit, like I before I advance to anything huge, I want to know what it is that I'm looking at. That's going to be a whole separate resolution on its own. Like learn how to read my graphs. Learn how to figure this stuff out. I'll tell you, some of the information that I have gotten from a lot of more educational channels is that there's a whole lot of side of fishing that I never really paid attention to. And this has to do, I think it comes a lot more from the big boat anglers, is when they'll take the day beforehand and they'll just look at the water on the chart as they're going. They'll chart it all out ahead of time and look at what's on the graph. Maybe they'll fish a spot. I've even heard of some anglers like fishing with barbless hooks. So, they just easily, release a fish immediately just to kind of like, drive the point home that they have found fish. There's fish in this spot. And they'll kind of get an idea of what the contours are like under the water without even necessarily throwing a line out there. Just look at all this stuff. Is that something that kayak anglers that you've seen people do, jump out with their electronics and just paddle around the areas where they think they're going to go? Is that, or am I crazy for thinking like that?
No. It's actually it's a tactic. It's just called pre-fishing. Most tournament bodies have some sort of rule on it.
Yep.
Like for MAKB, it's you can pre-fish as much as you want at a body of water up until I believe it's 7 p.m. the night before. Usually it's like 12 hours before the tournament. You can't do it 12 hours before the tournament. So you can't like fish all night and then know what's going on, and then you pull in and say, "Hey, I'm here, and we're going to fish now," and then turn right back around and go right back to where you were.
You know what? It's so funny because when we're having these conversations with Ken about the rules and things, that jumped into my mind. I was like, I wonder if it's in there, if anybody's even considered like the idea of pre-fishing from like midnight until dawn and then just entering in the tournament. I was like, I wonder, but that makes sense. So it is, even when you're talking about kayak anglers, like getting out there and just looking at contours,
it's a head start.
Yeah.
It's a head start on your water reading. Even if conditions change 180 degrees from Friday to Saturday when the pre-fishing ends and the tournament begins, you're going out, you're seeing what's there. You're seeing the water, the tone and clarity.
Yep.
You're able to see structures. You're able to it's a starting point. And then you can make adjustments from there. Because like if I go to a tournament, like not pre-fishing, I'm spending time figuring shit out for the first couple hours.
Yep.
And that's, especially if it's a place I haven't been to, that's rough.
We've talked about that before where you're like, it's a strategy to, as soon as you get in the water, just meet your limit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And then start calling, like that's a strategy right there. But let's say you're going out to new water and now you're having to break it down and spend those few hours more chasing after fish than actually putting them in the boat. It's like, I could see where that would be frustrating for sure.
So here's on the flip side of that. Here's where, as a tournament angler, and using my favorite catchphrase, this is where I feel comfortable going into a new body of water and keeping a limited amount of lures. Yeah, because I don't have a Bass Pro Shops loaded into my kayak. I have way less lures, way fewer lures than anybody else I know. Yeah. I keep very, very few. I'll go out there. I have confidence in those baits and utmost. And I know that those fish have not seen my particular brand of bullshit.
That's the catchphrase. I was waiting for it. Okay.
Yep. They do. Sometimes you will go out there and even if I've focused on a small portion of the lake or water or whatever it is, and I said, okay, I've looked at maps, I've looked at weather reports, I've looked at this, I've looked at that. Here are my 3 stops. Here's my 1, 2, and 3, the first 3 stops I'm going to make, even without seeing the water.
Yeah.
I'm going over there and I'm hitting that first spot with everything I can. Boom. I'm cycling right through lures, fast to slow, usually trying to trigger those bites first and then slow down and get cute and see what I can put in front of somebody who might be a little gun shy on a search bait.
They see something new.
Yeah. I may move to the second spot, but again, the golden rule, if you find fish, don't leave fish.
Yeah. I agree, man.
There's some anglers that will complain about that if somebody sits on a spot all day, but you know what? Don't leave fish. I wouldn't do it. I haven't done it. Yeah. If there's something, there's some circumstances where they can get a little shady, but generally if you're paying as much as I am to get into a tournament and you find fish and you want to sit there on them, it's your spot, dude.
That's your spot.
What am I supposed to, seriously? Cause what are you saying if
let's say fucking numbers.
No, you and I are fishing, right? And I go and you found a spot where there's fish and you're catching fish. Let's say nobody else is in the tournament.
Yeah.
And I complain about it. What am I actually complaining about?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to have a turn to catch fish.
It's not fair.
You got there, you found the fish. Yeah. I don't remember anything in the rules saying you have to switch places. This isn't musical chairs.
Like
you found the fish, you got there first. Congratulations. You whooped my ass. I'll see you next tournament. What? Bam. You cut out there for a second. I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Like I again, that one tournament that I won with MAKB this year, I didn't move 150 feet all day. And I could tell people were kind of coming up and trying to get in there and get around me, but I'm like,
You can try.
I don't remember signing up for time limits to sit at a spot. I found fish here. I am damn sure not leaving them.
Charlie Baker didn't tell you how long you could sit in that restaurant.
Correct. Yes. And I went and I caught my fish and I wanted to, just do it. I mean, there are some reasonable expectations though. Like you can't sit at you can't claim a 500-yard stretch for your own.
Yeah, exactly.
If you it's still rules. Etiquette is generally
you're in a 100-acre pond. You can't say like, nope, these 98 acres are mine. Fuck y'all.
Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all.
Exactly. Yeah, it's still 50 yards. You got to give your competitors.
Yeah.
And, we can talk more as the season gets closer for the trail. There's some things that every angler should be aware of. I don't want people showing up to any of our events and they're just, either not ready to fish or God forbid, even worse, have some sort of major rule violation where they can't fish. I don't want somebody to pay and then show up in a, 14-foot John boat saying, "Hey, let's go." And I'm like, dude, this is a kayak tournament.
Yeah.
We don't, that's obviously an extreme example and I'm not expecting that, but you know what I mean? Somebody showing up without a life preserver. That's something issue.
That's a big problem. Yeah.
Someone showing up with a hog trough. Catch boards are only allowed.
Yeah.
We got kind of off this preparation thing and goals. I'm sorry.
It's all good. No,
but you know what I'm saying? Like we'll cover that down the road. We got a couple months to do that. It's nice to start planting seeds. On a final note on that, Ken Wood on the MAKB page has started posting some of them are a decent read, but as far as lengthwise, but all the rules and things that any angler who's going to fish with us should know are on there. So
yeah,
PFD use, the references for the KBF rules, there is small addendums for MAKB rules. As events come up, I'm going to have different notes on each event because there's a couple of them where pre-fishing might be extremely difficult because of where I've managed to get parking with non-state ramps. If I've secured private parking for that day, that doesn't mean I've secured private parking for Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday beforehand.
That's
so you
true.
Can go out and pre-fish. So if you're trying to pre-fish, you've got to find somewhere,
that's cool to park. In. Yeah.
But I mean, like I'm doing what I can. You know what I mean? I can't say, hey, can I take up a parking lot at a business for an entire week? Nobody's going to go for that.
No.
So you know what I'm saying, but yeah, more on that to come. And I'm sorry if I hijacked that. But
no, that's good. This is good.
Preparation's huge, man, and pre-fishing is huge. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's written out in the rules and you follow whatever rules are there for you.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, I think that's definitely the sort like that's the short list of goals that I've got lined up. Break that 100 marker for largemouth. Get better and more skilled at preparing in advance and reading bodies of water, and then build confidence in search baits. And I'm gonna start lipless cranks, and we'll go from there.
Hey, spring's a great time to start using those lipless cranks.
Yeah.
As far as preparation, the best I can do, I'm not going to be the boss of you, but I can tell you, here's what I do. Here's what I pick apart. And knowing you, every time you and I talk, you always find awesome resources online that I miss. Like you're way more in depth on your research than I am online. I think I do a decent job, but you find things that I just never even thought to touch. And, I'm sure you'll build on that. If I show you how I do it, you're going to be like, hey, check this out. You're going to come back to me in a month and be like,
yeah,
I found resource A, B, and C. Have you checked these out? And I'm like, well, I heard a C. What the hell are A and B?
There is a really good resource for, and I love this stuff, but I will say this, that and it's a video series. It's on YouTube. Great channel. It's called Fish the Moment. Have you ever seen any of these videos?
I have not. A resource that I did not know about.
Some of these are crazy in depth, and the videos are a bit long, and he leaves no detail. He misses nothing. I mean, every little detail. Like I've watched some videos before about fish finding and using electronics or how to apply this specific technique, and it's a wealth of information. They are a little bit on the because these are in depth. Like these are really, really, really. They dive into the guts of it. It's not the easiest thing to just passively watch. And if you don't have the time to, get into it and dive in, it may not necessarily be. You might have to go back a few times and take some notes and things like that. But it's a good resource. And there's another one about the biology of fishing. I'm going to share a few of these links. God, I dove into some of these. I got so geeky last spring, like unbelievably.
But you increased your numbers from the year prior.
Massively, but like tripled them. Like,
nice.
I mean, that was, and the thing, what's interesting is that from 2019 to 2020, the amount of time that I was fishing was, I had fished earlier in the year. And no, 2019, I fished all the way into December. So on that end, it was the same. But I only started fishing in 2019 in like, I think April. So I started a full 30 days earlier in 2020, but I only caught like 5 or 6 fish that first month. The entire year in 2019, and I thought I was killing it in 2019. I caught a collective amount of like 30 fish. I thought I was killing it.
Largemouth or fish total?
These are primarily largemouth. Primarily largemouth. There was a couple of fall fish that got in there.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, I don't think I caught any pickerel last year.
Whoa!
Or if I did, I didn't add them into the numbers. They may have been catches that didn't necessarily count. Like, you know, they professional, what do you call that? Automatic self-release at the bank.
Long distance catch and relief.
Yeah.
That's catch and release. That's what Andy says.
Yeah. It could be one of those situations, but I'm like, all right, it is what it is. But yeah, this year I was at 99 largemouth, and I'm like, nice. Holy shit. I mean, I've probably got like 20 pickerel, a bunch of different species in there, so I'm psyched. One of those in 2019 was a crappie. That was an interesting one too, and I caught that one. That was an interesting one because I caught it on a crank.
Yeah, they like crankbaits. They like minnows. So anything that looks like a minnow, they'll tackle it.
Alrighty, what else do we have to go? Do you got anything else on your list? That what about your goals, Sean?
So I saw, you had sent me that little template, the what did I do last year and what the plans are for next year, and I really gave that some thought. And I think my goals are the same every year. Yeah. Improve on what I've done in the past. Try to catch, more numbers. Try to catch bigger fish. Those are very, very broad. And I have responsibilities this year that I didn't have last year. So with running a trail, there's going to be goals that I'd like to meet with that, which I'm not going to get into on air because what's the point? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have my hands full with that, where we've got our goals for the show, and all things associated. So there's a bunch of stuff with that going on.
Yep.
I mean, as far as a fisherman, it seems to me that the more time I get out on the water, the more fish I catch. And if the ratio is 10% of the fish I catch are going to be 17 inches or bigger.
Yep.
Maybe I don't know, improve that.
Yeah.
A longstanding goal of mine is always try to be slimming down on lures and equipment that is not benefiting me.
Yeah. Is there a species that you want to target this year that you're hoping that you'll get on?
Oh, dude, I always. And you know what? I could say this is a goal because every year it's a disappointment for me because I have not done it in years. And
I'll bet you it's the same thing that I've got in mind.
I want to catch a bowfin in Massachusetts.
Let's do this.
They are so difficult to catch. But like with a goal like that, it's kind of rough because anytime that I'm out, like if it's not a multi-species tournament, anytime that I'm out trying for bowfin means that somebody else is out that I'm competing with is going for bass, and I'm giving them that time.
Yep.
So that's where it's tough. I mean, bowfin will hit bass lures. I learned that in Minnesota. They're just not, and Kenan and you and I both talked about this when we had him on, I believe, and the bowfin in Massachusetts just don't seem to be as aggressive as the southern and midwestern bowfin, and I don't know why that is.
There is one angler we need to talk to and get on this show from our area who has infinite amounts of experience, and last year he killed it catching bowfin on bass lures. I think primarily on topwater. And I think primarily on topwater. And I mean, some of these are absolutely killer. I should reach out to him and see if he wants to jump on, because that, like, sure. I have never caught a bowfin. I mean, I would also say, like, I know that the end of or late summer last summer, where there was a lot of buzz on snakehead. Like you saw a lot of YouTube channels with like snakehead videos and things like that. I just think that's that bowfin, especially being a native fish, is just like. Just absolutely amazing. So I would love to catch one and do that. Another thing I want to another goal is species related goal is I want to put more time into targeting smallmouth specifically. I would love to catch more smallies. I've always had this idea that they were like special. You know what I mean? Like there was something different about smallmouth. And clearly there is, but like it wasn't a regular practice for a bass fisherman to get out there and catch smallies. And I've since found that that's not necessarily the case. It's just got to do with the water, are they there or not? And yep. I have this year, I think I caught 4 or 5, and every single one of them, even the dinks, I was just like, yeah, I got to catch more of these. They're such great fish.
I think out of the seven locations, which are still, we've revealed 2 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to the MAKB site. There's 2 of our trail stops are out in the open, but out of those 7 places, I want to say, and we call it 8 with the backup. I think 4 or 5 of them have smallmouth.
Yeah. And
I think 2 or 3 of them have pike.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, we're there.
Yeah. There's a lot for species that I think are, and that I think is always a fun sort of goal to set for yourself, because then you kind of get outside of your own head. Right? But I definitely see it. If you're a tournament angler, like targeting different species that aren't what you're in a tournament for, it's like you have to kind of put that in its own little compartment. Luckily, we have the Chronic Trips tournament, which is a multi-species tournament. So that kind of all like feeds right in here, and you can cross off a couple of checks there for that. Definitely checks a few boxes. You get some points on the multi-species tournament. You knock off one of your own personal goals for the year. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a perfect segue.
Exactly.
That was beautiful. I was making hand gestures, thumbs up, all sorts of shit at you.
Yep.
All right. So here's what we got for the December
to remember.
The December Chronic Trips tournament. So, we had a flurry of activity by one contestant at the end that ended up tying the competitive division with for first place.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep those results for the end. I just want to note, where am I at? I'm looking at my sheet here. I'm a failure as a co-host here. All right. So we did have one. We actually had 2. I don't know how to put this. We had one record B set. One record set. One record B set. One record
set. Yeah.
One record set. So Bonnie Edmondson of Fish Donkey, who was in with the Nature Nuts and sponsors, she caught that 23-inch walleye a couple weeks ago, and that nobody turned into walleye yet. So that was an awesome fish. So that's a record set. This, however, no offense to Bonnie, is much bigger news. Somebody finally beat Mark with a brown trout.
No, really?
Yes. Austin Carlson caught a brown trout in the first week. It was 21.5 inches. Mark could not overcome that.
Wow. That's great.
Yep.
That is fantastic, man.
Congrats to Austin. He has scaled the mountain.
That is absolutely killer.
Yep. And to give Mark some props here too. We'll go right into it. He won on the Nature Nuts sponsor side.
Yeah.
So Mark had 18 points. He beat out Brock and Bonnie, and I finished a distant 4th because fuck college, I guess. I am mentally and physically strained over college this month, so fuck that. I'll get you back in the spring, Mark. So, Mark, congratulations. He held on and killed it. He caught a ton of trout and caught a few bass in there too as well. He did a great job.
Nice.
Now, here's where the drama came in over on the competitor's side.
Ooh.
So, Nelson and Nate Shagnon were pretty close for about half the month, and then Nate went out and said, he goes, "I got this," right? So Nate put up a bunch of points. The second, I believe it was the second, third, and third week. He didn't catch anything on the final week. And we had a late addition, Jeremy Andrews, who's been on the show.
Yep.
came in and Jeremy looks like one hell of a day on the ice. He caught a lot of fish, nothing huge, but caught a lot of fish, and by points. And because it was, he managed to slip the bane of my existence into his totals, an 8.5-inch bluegill.
Oh,
yeah. So they tied for first. And to pull back the, shall we call them the chronic trips beef curtains?
yeah. Why not?
So we had Fish Donkey provides a default set of rules.
Yep.
Right. And there was one part that apparently I missed or didn't read close enough, or just let it carry through from when Seth set everything up and Fish Donkey set everything up. I missed it. Our tiebreaker was not a clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I brought that up to you. We did not have a clear tiebreaker procedure for points like this. It's being addressed for the next tournament, obviously. But for this one, there was a lot of leeway in the rule that was there. So what I did was, there are 4 Chronic Trip members that have to do with fishing: myself, Brock, Mark, and Seth. I removed myself because, I've known Jared for a long time, and I've fished with Nate a lot recently. I said, I'm not going to be part of this judging, and left it up to them. I said, do we want to just call it a tie and split the prizes and the money, or do we want to go into some of the outline tiebreaker things that could give a lot of gray area? And I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I left it up to them, and it was almost unanimous that they're going to split it.
Leave it as a tie.
Yep. Split it. It's a tie. Great job to both of you.
Yep.
Where's their applause, dude?
Yeah, man.
So congrats, Jared. Congrats, Nate. And the only thing I have left on Chronic Trips there's 2 things. I'm sorry, I said one thing. There's 2 things. So we will be running one in February.
Yep.
Hopefully there will be ice, or there will be open water somewhere that, you know me, I'll go open water in the cold. So February, but for 2022, okay, or for the end of 2021 and 2022, we had a meeting and we talked about the scheduling, and I proposed that because a lot of people don't fish from basically the holiday season.
Yeah.
From Halloween to New Year's, it's really rough to get people out on the water. Hunting is in play. And on top of that, the weather tends to make people shy away from it. It's dangerous. I get it.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. So this year, for 2021, we will be having a February, an April, a June, an August, and an October. There's our 5 tournaments. That's our season.
Yep.
Okay. Starting in 2022, we are going to open the year with a 60-day January and February tournament. That's for open water and ice. Hopefully there'll be ice.
Yep.
And start it off that way, and then go the same thing. So January, February is 1, April, June, August, October. Still 5, but we got that 60-day one to start it off.
Yeah.
So that's the game plan going forward. Obviously, it's subject to change, but we think that'll get more of a turnout for a 60-day tournament, where if someone can only fish 3 days, or there's only 3 days of ice, that, and let's say it's, it opens that time frame up a little more, so that people should be able to get out on the water a little better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And also I think, having it be the 60 days allows for less pressure on, I got to get out on this weekend. Let's say there is safe ice and you're in, New England and you want to get out and ice fish. Sometimes planning that stuff can be a bit much. And I think that you'll see it'll probably be a more exciting experience, because you're talking about an 8-week period versus a 4-week period, with, it being more of a to-do to get out there on the water and get some fishing in.
Gives more chance. Like if next year is anything like this past week or past 2 weeks, where we saw almost safe ice, 2 days of rain, then we had safe ice in some places, and it looks like are we getting rain this week? Are we having warmer temps? I don't even know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I'm way out of touch with weather right now.
But up and down, has made it miserable. And even that trip I took to the Cape a few weeks ago, I expected open water everywhere. And I got skim ice on the one place I wanted to hit the most, and that just kind of killed me.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's the plan going forward. The other thing on Chronic Trips I do want to mention is I took a look at it today. So we've had Seth on more than a few times.
Oh yeah,
obviously, for the tournament, and mostly for the tournament, I think. Mostly for the recaps, whatever. Yep. So we all know Seth's really big into nature and the environment. He's a hiker. He'll come out fishing every now and again. Well, he's started doing a report, an outdoor report on YouTube. So I watched it this morning. Seth, dude's enthusiastic. Give it a watch.
Oh yeah.
Let us know what you think. But yeah, he's out there doing it. So it's the Chronic Trips Outdoor Report. It's on YouTube. Check it out. I watched it this morning. Good job, Seth. He had a lot about. He was very enthusiastic this morning about pine trees.
Pine trees, like
killing it with the pine trees.
Are we talking about like Bob Ross level of excitement? Like,
oh no, Bob
trees?
Ross was chill, man. This
Okay.
is Seth fired up on pine trees.
Okay,
evergreens.
I'll bet you he was just fired up on the trees. I guarantee it. I guarantee you.
There's a drum.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Neither do I. I don't know. Give it a listen. Give it a watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't super long. I think it was only like a half hour. So, yeah.
Nice.
Good stuff. Good job, Seth. Keep it up.
We're going to definitely check that out. I'm going to check that out. You've already checked it out. Some of you guys may have noticed, and this is a little bad Bobby Roast beef. I neglected to do a giveaway in December just because the holidays were insane. You know, so what we're doing here is we're actually beefing up the holiday hangover giveaway that we had scheduled. I know we had mentioned this earlier in another episode, but this has a very limited availability. It's a special collector's item, this gift box that has been decorated very ornately, by the way, by Sean the Fisherman. And it contains... Well, it contains a handful of items that I think are going to be very popular. We've got some baits from Stretching Lines Anglers Gear. We've got a face buff from MAKB. Right. We also have, what else do we have in there? We have a jig kit that we've included in there. And then who else is in that? Oh, Old Glory. That's right. We have, it's an ARC crankbait. And it's, this is beautiful, like amazing, great looking finish. I actually have the model number written down in a note for the giveaway, but that's all launching next Monday. We're going to launch that Hollywood hangover, that holiday hangover.
Hollywood.
We're going to launch that holiday hangover giveaway in the middle of the month, but we're also including, we have a box from Dark Horse Tackle. We have of course, Hooks and Hoodlums are partnering in with this. And was there somebody else?
Yes. Can I say?
Go ahead.
Ooh.
You go ahead.
Well, I noticed a few weeks ago that Mrs. Mitchell's Kitchen, our favorite haunt for breakfast in Western Massachusetts, Mrs. Mitchell herself came across an older box of T-shirts with their logo on it.
Yep.
And she was selling them, and I asked her if she'd like to be involved in this giveaway. She said yes. So obviously I can't ask her to not make money and hold on to 50 T-shirts in every different size and color for us.
Exactly.
She said she would set aside a large and an extra large.
That's awesome.
So, you know, if you win this thing, you're getting a large or an extra large. That's all the leeway we have. I mean, what are we going to do on that?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy that she's involved.
I think it's great.
Hit that place. We already made plans. We're going there this week. We got to talk shop. We got to go over there and do our thing. But yeah, that'll be in there. And also involved in that giveaway, the box itself has stickers from almost everybody involved.
Yep.
So, and you know, the one thing I did try to do, and then I gave up on it. I really wanted this to all go inside the box like it was a Christmas present and be super cute about it.
Yeah, it's just not going to fit.
Our jig box and Stretching Lines bag of plastics will not fit. I'm not cutting them up. I'm not putting them in separate bags. Yeah. It's part and parcel. You get it all. And plus the mystery tackle box ain't going to fit in there anyway. So
yeah, the Dark Horse tackle box.
Yes, and that beautiful box that I used for our artwork for the December episode. It was a $2 box that I got from Big Lots, but I jazzed it up, man.
I mean,
I'm
let's
so
be
proud
honest,
of it.
If there is one highlight piece, one point of interest, this is like if you go to like a museum or something, you have a program and they have like that one iconic piece that they want to show. They're going to put that on the cover. The box is what's going to be on the cover. Let's be honest. It's the sum of all the parts included.
I mean, anybody can go out on the street and sell themselves to get enough money to buy any of those other items.
Exactly.
The box, you can't.
The box is that limited edition. You have to listen to this show, and you'll be the only person to have this item. Who knows? You know what's going to end up happening with this, Sean? Somebody's going to take this, and it's going to become like a what is the name of that little cardboard cutout guy that they send around in the mail to different places, and they post pictures?
Flat whatever.
Yes, that's what it's going to turn into. Like, people are going to fill it with random items. It's going to come back to us with, like,
Why would you bring that up? Now I have a Sean the Fisherman story.
Oh.
Sean, now, this is a Sean the Educator story. And a matter of fact, I have another one that we discussed over the grill. Glad I brought this up, or glad you brought this up. That flat program, that's a book, I believe. It's a children's book.
I think so.
And then
is it
teachers
Flat
assign
Stanley?
That, yeah, it's Flat Harold?
Yeah, Flat Stanley.
Flat Stanley. I'm sorry, Flat Harold. My bad. 2 syllables. So I have a goddaughter who was in Arizona at the time, and her class did that. And her mother had put it on Facebook. Hey, does anybody want this thing? And I said, you send that to us right now. So we got my niece.
Don't tell me you took a picture with it in front of the Christmas tree.
No, I actually, no, dude. Because remember, whatever I did had to be shown to a class of third graders.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm creative, but I'm not an asshole. So, well, that's debatable too. But so I got this little flat
Stanley
cardboard cutout. Well, it's my niece, so it wasn't Flat Stanley.
Oh, Flat
had her head on it, and then if we had any, how you want historical or cultural sites in the area, we went on a field trip with it. So obviously, where do you think I took this item and took pictures with it with my sons?
With the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Obviously. Yeah. Where else?
The Dr. Seuss Museum.
You're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Where else did I go? I think that was.
You didn't go to the Volleyball Hall of Fame in Holyoke, did you?
Didn't. No.
You motherfucker.
I stayed Springfield. No, I thought there was one other one.
Winchester
I'd have to look
Square?
at the PowerPoint, but we did it. And I asked my sons, I said, treat this like you're taking someone to show them around Western Massachusetts, right? So there's pictures of like them holding it between them, like holding her hands. Oh, it was a blast. So the funny thing I did on that was I did all these slides straight up in the Dr. Seuss Museum. Like, you have that at the Dr. Seuss Museum, they have that 1 fish, 2 fish thing where you can make your own fish and it swims around, and then your fish swims around until some other kid comes in, or other adult who thinks they're a kid comes in and changes the fish, and then their fish goes in. So my kids and the cutout did all this stuff together, and it was a blast. It was really, really fun. Awesome. I had to write all stuff like learning about Dr. Seuss. But when I went to the Basketball Hall of Fame, there's a large statue of Larry Bird, and I did all this Basketball Hall of Fame stuff, like Flat So-and-so was learning all about the origins of basketball, and Dr. Naismith and this, and then I just put this one thing that just screamed
New England.
And it was the flat picture sitting on the crook of the arm of the Larry Bird statue. And it just said, by the way, this is Larry Bird, the greatest basketball player to ever draw breath on the face of the planet. I just left it there. It's been like he is a demigod in Western Massachusetts or something like that. And no one ever said anything about it. So
of course not.
No, it's Larry Bird.
Oh, they're probably like,
you're damn straight.
Yeah, that was a fun time. I think, you know where else? It was a Natural Science Museum right near the Dr. Seuss Museum.
Okay.
That was the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had, it was a blast, and I did a nice little PowerPoint on it, but throwing the jabs in there about Larry Bird was just brilliant.
So some Western Massachusetts spots that you should have definitely brought this character to, for sure. The White Hut. It would have just been a home run at the time. Was it closed at the time?
Yeah. Remember they closed down for a while. They're under new management.
Yeah. You're
talking about the burger place, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought this was longer ago. How long ago was this?
Oh, wait a minute. No, it was open. But again, that's not a place that I would...
That you would go to.
Yeah. It sucks. So, but no, I mean, real quick, for those of us who are... Or for those of you guys who are listening outside of Western Mass, we have a lot of cultural stuff here. It's a Pioneer Valley. So we've got, we're the birthplace of basketball. We're the birthplace of volleyball. That's 5 miles apart.
Yep.
So we have the Basketball Hall of Fame. We have the Volleyball Hall of Fame. Dr. Seuss was born here, so we have a Dr. Seuss Museum. Obviously, we have a Natural History Museum. And what else is in here? We got the Armory, Springfield Armory.
Springfield Armory, yep. That's a
big cultural site. And other than that, we've got a lot of colleges and hippies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we got some stuff here. So, yeah, we took our little Flat Stanley,
awesome.
My niece around.
That's great.
I'll show you that. You'll laugh when you see it. Especially the Larry Bird slide. I was dying when I did that.
Oh.
The other story, and I've covered everything. I don't know if you got anything else, so I can really go off on this tangent.
Go for it.
Oh, God. I asked permission to tell this story, and I'm not going to name any names, A, the source, or B, the, shall we say, perpetrator.
Okay.
A close source told me that he has a friend, an acquaintance, a long-term acquaintance, whose nickname is Shitter. And I said, that's pretty awful. Why is it that?
Because you know
obviously
there's a story.
With the tone of the conversation, with the incidents with the birch trees and all sorts of other stuff going on, a tale was told.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently this man Shitter is the guy that, they get to a fishing spot where they've paddled or, motored out, and it might be a 20 or 30 minute motor, and you get to that fishing spot and you're on the middle lake, and that person Shitter just turns you and says, "Oh God, bring me back in. I got to take a dump."
Oh man.
So apparently this happened one too many times, and the captain of the boat said, "Go in the water." And this person, Shitter, descended into the water, apparently pantsless, and just proceeded to punch out floaters. I said, "Are you kidding?" And they said, "Nope." And we got pictures of it. That this person is sitting attached to a boat, legs in the water, floaters are just popping up all around.
Chumming away.
That is the most horrific thing I've ever heard. And he said, the guy had to poop. So that's awful. So that exists. And that is why I do not swim in public bodies of water.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's rough, man. Although, I mean, I feel that level of pain, I've been there. You get out and you're just like, son of a bitch.
But did any of your friends' mothers, when you went over to their house, ever say to you, "Hey, I saw a picture of you and there was shit all around you in the water"? Because apparently that happened.
No. You just put this from like a 6 or a 7 to like an 11.
Yeah. So this picture, there were pictures taken and distributed. Apparently. I'm in shock too. This is not my story. I'm relaying this.
I need you to do me a favor. I need you to acquire said picture, and I'm going to blur out the face.
Oh my God. I don't know if I want to be involved in that.
Episode.
Hearing about the story is one thing.
Yeah.
Actively seeking out a picture of somebody's poop is a whole nother level that I stay away from. And you just asked me to do that. I mean, I know we're close, but I have my limits.
Can you procure photographic evidence of the individual nicknamed Shitter so that we can use it to exploit? God,
look
damn, what
the question is not can I, the question is will I? And
that's true.
I can't do that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's fine.
I can't
actually,
do that. So
I've already created the episode artwork for this one.
Oh God,
which is good. So we're good. No. It's
we don't want to go down that road.
It's probably one of the nicest and sweetest batches of artwork ever, because our guests, after we take this short break, we're going to come back and we have Rhia and Justin. You might know them as Angling Duo on Instagram, and Angling Duo has been showing up on so many images. They've been networking and getting out there and kind of, creating this unbelievable content, but they are an absolutely amazing married couple, and they have been out there just putting in the work, getting it done, and they've been fishing and traveling and making it happen. So I think it'll work out really well. So I didn't even think about that, but I've already created the artwork with the right aesthetic. So Shitter, you're safe for now, you son of a bitch. You're safe for now.
Thank God. That's all I can say is thank God you have already created the artwork, because all I could see is Mr. Hanky holding a fishing pole, fishing rod.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho. How's the bite today, guys?
Stop. Oh, damn it, dude.
I love this fresh pond scented air.
Did you remember to bring your dude wipes? Which, by the way, I had to order some staples for the house. Like I needed I needed to get some salt for the sidewalks and a couple other random items in there. I did order some dude wipes because it just makes sense. I'm working on a new show sponsor.
Just don't forget to go hiking around birch trees. Actually, when we were out scouting, Nelson and I drove. We were up the Shears, and we were on a dirt road looking for this one particular body of water, and there was a clump of birch trees, and I'm talking about 1,000 of them.
Excellent choice of words. A clump.
Yeah, I just turned to Nelson and I go, "Hey, look at this public restroom. Somebody could have a field day out here." Yeah, he was dying laughing. We're idiots.
We're terrible human beings. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We're going to go ahead and shift gears over here, get to our interview segment. We'll catch you on the other end for our little outro, all right? All Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here, and it's interview time. This is the first interview of 2021. We're coming out actually pretty big right now because not only do I have a guest, but we've got two guests. We have collectively, you would know them as Angler Duo on Instagram. I've got Rhia and Justin. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing great.
Yeah, we're hanging out with Duncan.
Very nice. Oh, hanging out with Duncan. We cannot forget Duncan. Duncan's made it in some of your picks too. So if people are following you, they're going to know who we're talking about, which is pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and talk fishing, guys. Give me a little bit of feedback about the two of you. Well, actually, how should I restructure this question? So the two of you guys are married, right?
Yes.
How long have you been married together?
Since March.
Oh, so
March 2020. So.
Oh, this is a new. You guys are a COVID marriage?
We are.
Wow! Congratulations. That's amazing.
We were actually planning a big thing and then decided that we were just going to go ahead and elope. And so we decided to elope and went to Houston.
Yep.
Houston.
And while we were in Houston, that's when they shut everything down. So we barely
geez.
even made it to the courthouse. We were the last ones the day before they shut everything down.
Yeah.
Down there.
Oh, you got to be kidding me! That's awful. I mean, at least you got. I see. I work in the wedding industry. I'm an event DJ and I'm an officiant. So all the couples that I've been working with, they've been pushing their dates back. We're going to wait a few months and see what happens. Let's try and reschedule for a few months. And I keep telling them they're better off to think in terms of let's just do a big anniversary party. We'll just roll everything over. We'll do the reception then. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
That's this is great. This may lead to some very interesting questions that I may have regarding married couples that fish together, because I wish my wife and I have been together for 17 years. We've been married for 11, and I think I've gotten her out to fish maybe twice.
Wow. First of all, congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then, 2 times, that's a start.
Yeah, it is. It's a start, but it's over such a long time. So I'm trying to get her into it. She has just no interest at all, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. So let me get familiar with sort of the story in each of your lives as far as the way fishing kind of came to be. How did you guys each individually discover fishing? And then how was it that when you met and came together as a couple that fishing got to be an activity, something that you like to do so much that where now you're teaming up on it and really, you guys travel to fish, you really get out there, you give it what they call, the kids would say is a full send.
Yeah, we try to at least, and it's fun. But first, I was raised with a fishing pole in my hand. My grandpa, whose birthday is today.
I saw the picture, by the way. Happy birthday.
Thank you. He's the one who taught me how to fish. And ever since he started teaching me how to fish, he's regretted it since then because I've always either outfished him or caught a bigger fish than him or something to this day. So, but he's the one who I credit all of that to. But we never did any other type of fishing except for, shore fishing or from a boat in a lake.
Yep.
Or a river, and it was just typically with one type of a lure, the MEPS and like rooster head or rooster tail, and that's all we would utilize. So that's what I grew up on.
Great.
And then
I grew up with my 2 brothers, learning a little bit of fishing from my grandfather on my dad's side. And then growing up in a neighborhood that was pretty much across the street from a couple bodies of water. So,
okay.
My brothers and I and the neighbors and so our friends that we grew up with would always, ride bikes with our fishing rods, going to different, local areas to fish, and kind of just did that as an outdoor hobby, and it stuck with a bunch of us. So, yeah.
And then how we kind of met, it was actually through a dating app, like one of those online things. And so, swipe right or whatever. And so I start the conversation and
left, right.
Yeah, literally it was, I think maybe like the 3rd or 4th thing that we conversed was we went straight into fishing. And so I sent him a picture of a fish that I caught like 2 summers ago back home in Idaho. And then he's like, "Oh, nice northern pike." And then I send another picture and he's like, "Oh, that's a nice smallmouth bass." And I'm like, "Okay, let's try." We just started talking fishing, and it was just kind of the way it started.
And I had to show that I knew my species of fish, because if I took too long, then I could be looking it up.
Of course.
Screen, so
that's what.
So I was like, I hope my wireless connection is very good tonight.
There you go.
So that's kind of how we, meshed with the whole thing. And then, it wasn't until because of this whole, quarantine, and I was actually furloughed the day after we got back from getting married. And
Oh my God.
Yeah, off for like 3 months. And so during that time, I was like, I'm just going to start a fishing page for us because we have so much fishing stuff and our family's probably tired. They are, So we did that, and that just kind of prompted the start in April.
That's awesome. I mean, this has been a really wild ride for a lot of people, but if you do anything right now that involves the outdoors, like it's been the best opportunity to kind of give it all your effort and go for it. I mean, you see a lot of people doing it, whether they're, they want to start a shop, or they wanted to start creating content, or they were just looking to branch into a different portion of outdoor activities. You saw a lot of that happening this year. So, I mean, good for you guys. That's awesome. How has it been? And what's your experience been like so far since you started the Angler Duo page?
What's your experience been like?
My experience has been like a lot of fishing, which is perfectly fine with me.
It's kind of the goal, yeah.
Yeah.
The experience has been good, Rhiannon and I, we both pretty much started river fishing together as a branch out of, our normalcy fishing that we would do growing up.
And so we got to meet a lot of anglers who do that sort of thing. So the page has kind of like brought a whole bunch of different people from different facets of fishing to get to know them a little bit more personally too.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And then, being able to travel together as a couple and with our dog Duncan to different states in New England and fish those bodies of water as well. So that's been a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah, I would say the same thing, that it's really like the community that you can kind of create. It was the same sort of experience I had when I started the podcast. Was the community has just been amazing. Networking with people and getting out to go out and fish with them has been great. It's the perfect social distancing activity, so it works out really well. As far as like preferences for how you guys each like to fish, independently of each other, what's your favorite season to be out there on the water?
For me, I'm going to say spring and fall.
Okay.
And that's just because of my, past experience growing up. That's just what my grandpa would do. We'd go out in the summer, but, it'd be hit or miss in the summertime. But we play more of the water sports.
Yep.
And, for me, I'm a seasons guy, and I do like the cooler temperatures because, super hot is super hot. But as far as like fishing, I'd say more of the summer months, pre-spawn, and then in the fall, like the fish, are it's different as opposed to summertime when the water is really warm and they are out hunting and lunking around, lurking.
Yep.
So they're there with whatever you want to throw per se. The chances are greater, I feel like.
So. Holy cow, we got onto some addiction of frog fishing this year.
Yeah, exactly. So
it has that effect.
I'd say it really depends on what you like fishing. Like you can go really, really finesse, pre-spawn in the fall and stuff. So, or you can throw pretty much anything you want in the summer and catch stuff too. So it just really depends, and depends on your situation. If you're fishing from the shore, or in like a kayak or a power boat, like a bass boat or something with an outboard motor. So it really just depends.
Oh, absolutely, it does. Yeah, you're right, because when you think about it, if the fish are moving, you gotta track them down. If they're looking in the summertime, if they're looking for depth, you've got to be able to. It's a whole lot easier to do that from some type of watercraft than.
It condenses answer to all year round.
Yeah. I'm the same way though, because I do. I like to fish. I like to fish finesse, and I look forward to that in the spring and in the fall and through the winter. But it's not really necessary all the time in the summer. It has its moments when it gets really, really hot. But it's just I like to be able to switch it up, so I can totally get behind that. As far as like with specific weather conditions, is there anything that'll just make you guys decide to not go out or call it a day?
Lightning. Yeah. Lightning.
I think that's a given. Yeah.
Pouring, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But for me too, I'm easing into the ice fishing for the first time this year, and I'm always cold even in the summertime. So it's kind of like, do I want to go out and be on ice in winter, fishing, being, sedentary? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then like maybe like something that would make me not want to go fishing is like if I'm extremely hungry, if there's no snacks involved, then I'm
there you go.
not.
The belly first.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
But other than that, I mean, we'll go when it rains.
Yeah.
If it's torrential downpours, no, but if it's raining a little bit, then
Oh yeah. I think that, there's always some degree. A little bit of rain is okay. Too much starts to get a little aggravating. A little bit of wind is wonderful. Too much, and it could make or break a day. As far as the different bodies of water that you like to fish, and because you guys go and travel like you do, are you? What's your favorite bodies of water to fish? Are you looking for saltwater, or when you're fishing freshwater, are you more smaller ponds and lakes, or are you looking for larger bodies of water that you can break down over time?
So unfortunately, we don't have a boat yet.
Okay.
So right around the corner, we don't have kayaks either. So that around the corner maybe, but do a lot of shore fishing and surf casting and things of that nature. I just started doing that with this guy when I first met him a year ago. So that was my first time ever doing it. But I'd say, just off the banks of the brooks and in the rivers now, we both have waders and doing river fishing.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
I mean, she grew up in, Washington, Idaho. So like
Lots of lakes,
the lake that her family has property on is on a lake. I can just say in comparison to the caliber of like Lake Winnipesaukee as far as.
Oh, okay. So it's it's got some. It covers some land.
Yeah.
30-mile wide lake.
Yeah. So we both like fishing bodies like that. Typically if you're on a boat or
Oh, definitely.
For sure. So like I grew up like, fishing Lake Winnipesaukee with one of my friends and she grew up fishing Lake Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, which is kind of like that caliber. So we both like those types of bodies of water.
Bass fishing? Yeah, bring it on.
Bass fishing, largemouth, smallmouth, anything really at this point. Any fish is better than no fish.
True. It's amazing. Yeah, you get to this part of the year and, people will take what they can get. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what about confidence baits? Why don't you guys each give me like a top 3 confidence bait that you kind of lean on?
Go ahead.
So I'll start with, I'll give you my 3, but I'll tell you why. And it's the first one is going to be a space monkey, which is a creature bait by
yes, I'm familiar.
Rage Tail by Strike King.
I love that bait.
And then I like I like spinner bait, of all shapes and sizes. And then I like jigs as well.
Yeah.
So, and why I have confidence in them is not so much as that they will catch the fish. It's the more I feel like I have confidence in them based by the time that you put in throwing them, because over time you're going to throw them, you catch one, you'll catch another, you might not catch any, you'll catch more, depending on, all the parameters that you look for in fishing. So I have confidence in them because I throw them often.
Yeah.
So if I could throw another lure, if I just changed my mind and said, I'm going to throw these 3 for the next season, I'm sure to catch some fish on them. So I'll build up confidence. So that's my reason. And it doesn't have anything to do with color, shape, or size. It's just kind of like my chosen, what I go to.
You're chosen.
Yeah, my chosen.
There's a lot of personal preference that comes in with that too. You just you start to sort of build up a little bit of belief in a certain presentation, and you kind of lean on. And there's definitely nothing wrong with that, like at all. I think you're the first guest actually that's ever brought up those space monkeys. It's such a cool body style,
Yeah.
Because it's like a frog, but it's also like a craw. It's interesting.
So something about that one, right? That particular lure, as opposed, it's a 4-inch bait, but the body of it, for some reason, I feel like the presentation in the water can present like a 4-inch bait, and at times something possibly a little bit smaller, depending on the angle and float and travel, and how you rig it. Not only that, I feel like as a weedless lure, the weedless lure, it has a good rate of fall for just what it is as a soft plastic, as opposed to like you can throw on a different soft plastic and it doesn't have a rate of fall. For some reason, it's floating at the top. So you have the possibility to, fish it multiple different ways as a weedless option initially.
Definitely. Oh, definitely.
I would say, let's see, I'm gonna throw mine in real quick here.
Yeah.
Okay, so my top 3 would be back in the day, Mepps, Rooster Tail, or Spoon, because that's just what I was raised on and what I know. And that's all like the same type of classification almost, you know. But boy, I can throw those through lily pads. Watch me. But
really?
I would say now that it's Mepps, still Rooster Tails, and now I love the topwater Zoom frogs.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, those little feet that go...
Yep, absolutely. Crank them right across the surface. They're very nice. Very, very nice. No, that's awesome, guys. Let's talk. This question is, I always think to throw this question out, and I won't, because everybody, I love the answers. There's a saying amongst fishermen that fishing tackle will catch more fishermen than the baits will actually catch fish. What is the number one most ridiculous fishing tackle trend that you've seen in your entire lifetime? It doesn't have to be recent. It doesn't have to be. It could be any time. And the follow-up question to that is: are you guilty of using it?
That's so funny. Real quick, the first thing I could think of was this lure I gave my grandpa like 15 years or something for Christmas as a prank. And, it was to catch crappie, but it was actually like a turd that looked like crap, and it had hooks on it, treble hooks on it.
Yep.
So anyway, that's what I thought of, but off topic. Anyways.
And what I think about that is, I don't think there's really anything too ridiculous these days, because I've had a friend catch a fish on a legit gummy worm. An acorn falls into the pond as it falls off the tree, and you see a fish strike at it as either an annoyance or reaction.
Yeah.
You could throw a wedding band on some line. I'm sure something would hit it swimming through the water, So I don't think anything's too ridiculous, but
no, nothing's too ridiculous. But I have given into the bottle cap one, where people make it out of the bent bottle cap.
I've heard about that.
The Twisted Tea one.
Yeah, and then I lost it.
I was going to say, where did that one go? We'll have to make another one. We'll have to get another Twisted Tea and make one.
It's funny. There's a lot of people who I've heard answers where some people will say like the helicopter lure, or what's that? Another one of those big infomercial ones, the banjo minnow, things like that. I
have those downstairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a brand new set. I'm pretty sure it might be missing one or two, but I have one. We'll make a post.
So yes, we gave into those apparently.
Yeah, I mean, and it happens. But there's a YouTuber. I think his channel is Marling Baits, and there was one video where he had just basically a block of wood that maybe he had painted and put some hardware on, some split rings and treble hooks and a lip, and used it as a crankbait and caught fish on it. So I think you're 100% right. Like when it comes to like ridiculous at this point in the game, anything will work. I mean, people can throw. I've always made the joke that Alabama rigs are basically lampshades, with hooks, and you see these guys that go and throw these things. There's nothing natural about that. So it's, fish are savages. They will just attack anything. I think you guys are absolutely right with that. This one, I'm going to throw a little spin on there. I'm a big believer in, fishing is, going out and catching fish and breaking records and, tracking progress and things. That's all well and good. That's one thing. But for me, a lot of fishing is the experience. It's the people you're with, the community, everything else, and the connection that those people all together can make with nature. Mm-hmm. Individually, what are your top 3 people that you would want to fish with? And also, together, what is another couple that you guys want to fish with?
Let's see. Are these like people who don't even fish, or
they could be anybody? I've had people say rock stars and athletes in other sports. I've had other people say family members. Like it could be anybody, living or dead.
Okay. So I'm gonna say, obviously, my husband.
Oh.
Only if it comes with a dog. And then
so that's a twofer.
Let's see. I would have to say number 2 is my grandpa. I'd have to put him right there every day, all day. And then finally, with the connections that we've made on Instagram and being able to get to know people and just kind of their characters. Her name is Rachel. Anyways, we made friends over this whole Insta connection. And so I'd love to fish with her eventually this next year. So
that's awesome.
Those would be my top 3 if I could, out of celebrities even.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And if anything, like my top 3 would be obviously my wife.
Me.
My second would be my dog Duncan.
There you go.
And then the third will just, it's not a chosen one. It just consists of, my close friends that I grew up fishing with and then family that I grew up fishing with.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what I would say.
Not too far-fetched. Just kind of, people that we're used to and people we want to spend that time with. I mean, we do it together all the time as far as going out there and hitting the shore. But, there's times where he catches more fish or whatever than me and I get upset and wish I wasn't fishing with him. But, that's just a case by case.
Yeah.
But
it goes both ways.
What couple? Think of a couple.
I don't know. I don't even know.
I would have to say, I don't have a couple. I'm trying to think of like a couple, but we've got a lot of really cool other like fishing duo couples out there.
I mean, even if they're not like a married couple or anything, but just like a team that goes out and fishes regularly.
Okay, so this group that we're in currently, there's these 2 people who are up there all the time down in Louisiana. Okay, largemouth sass.
Oh yes,
those 2.
Yeah, and what's his name? I can't remember.
Joe Martin.
Yes.
Yeah. Megan and Joe. They're fantastic folks. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I think that would be a fun duo to get out there on the water with. She's always got her dog too. And they look like they're just whipping fish in the boat, literally.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely right. Yeah, they're great folks, man. That's awesome. That's a really good one.
That would be fun.
Now, one of the things we talk about sometimes to length, sometimes detrimentally at length, is we talk about music on this show a lot. And for a long time, I was big on, having the earbuds in and listening to music or a podcast while fishing. I've kind of gotten out of that a little bit, but I'm always curious to know, generally, almost everybody that's fishing is listening to something on the way to the water to get hyped up. What do you guys like to listen to get hyped up?
Well, unfortunately, like every day that we go there, we're usually not listening to anything because it's such a short little jaunt in the car to get there that we would finience a song,
So
that's a nice problem to have, though.
Yeah, it is. It is a very nice problem. So we just usually are like, okay, what are you going to throw?
Yeah.
Well, I got this on, and you're going to do this. Are you going to bring your bag? You got your pliers? Okay, I got that.
Gotcha.
That's the talk before we get there.
Yeah, and then when we get there, it's almost like we sometimes don't even talk.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
We're concentrating too,
Yeah.
We're in competition too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
bless you.
Corona sneeze.
Corona.
It's okay.
So,
You don't have to.
And then out there, we never listen to music like in earbuds or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe we put music on maybe a handful of times this whole year, on a phone in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But aside from that too, we're out on the shoreline, kind of in the woods. So we're trying to keep our head on a swivel.
Sure.
Yeah. And then you can really focus on your line and you're missing strike. You can miss strikes,
Definitely. Yeah. That's why I took the earbuds out. I went out one day. I was fishing with, actually, you guys might follow Delirious Angler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
this next year, yeah.
It was the first time I had fished with him. We had gotten together and we fished this one spot. And he, on his boat, we went out on his boat. He had a small Bluetooth speaker. And he's like, oh, I got to have tunes, man. Got to have tunes. And, I was like, that'd probably be a really good idea. I don't know if I would necessarily bring one out on my kayak, but I'll tell you what, it was a game changer because I was getting on some absolute beasts. And I was able to fully aware of everything that was going on. Didn't have the like that handicap of having earbuds in my ears and like missing like, you know, a sound to one side of me or something where I could go and then cast to something hitting the surface or whatever. So I felt like I really missed a lot. And that whole like wearing earbuds initially started when I would just take one to take a phone call with. Because I'd be working while I was at the water, and I'd, you know, have to take a call or something like that. I'd be on a Skype with England or something, and we'd have to, you know how it is.
Oh yeah, we've done it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, so I was just like, well, I got these with me. I might as well listen to music, and I didn't realize how much it really impacted my fishing. If I look back, and I'm like, yeah, that's when I was wearing headphones. I'm like, yeah, not the greatest idea, but. Yeah, everybody has something that they get hyped to. But if you guys if you're that close to the water and you don't even have the time to get into, you know, an artist or a playlist or anything like that, I totally get that.
At all, yeah. By the way, though, I am a former DJ from Houston.
Okay.
DJ Rhapsody. I did some DJing down there.
Very nice. Very nice. Excellent.
No longer, but just throwing that out there.
Oh, no. Well, let's talk. Okay, this is what I'm really kind of interested in, especially with you guys, and it's interesting because you guys have only been married for well, you're still in your first year. Your goal for your fishing page, your content creation, like, is there a direction you want to take this in as a couple over the next, say, like 3 to 5 years, maybe even 10 years? Where would you like to go with all this? Like, what's the sort of the end game for you guys?
Yeah, end all be all would be kind of obviously we're going to try to transition into getting a boat. And at that point, you know, I kind of like to work with a couple of select, you know, companies as parts of their pro staff or whatnot. And then we've talked a lot about trying to get into some tournaments. And so we definitely want to try to do that in the future and just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was always asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd always say a professional fisherwoman, you know, so I think I could do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So like, yeah, no, absolutely. That, you know, something for us to branch out to. So like maybe some tournament fishing where they're small and see where it goes. But at the same time, we'll never lose track of just being able to fish for fun, to have fun. So
definitely,
you know, if anything, a long-term aspect of the page is just, you know,
us fishing and having fun.
Yeah, catching different species of fish, you know, going over obviously personal records, but fishing different bodies of water and then trying to capture nice moments of those outdoor times. So yeah,
and generally like the content, like honestly, I do pretty much all of the creation for the content that goes up there. So it's just, you know, little pieces of our day, little pieces of our fishing trips, you know, nothing too personal, but still enough to get to know us as a couple and not just like a figure or anything, because we're not trying to be a figure. We just want people to see that there's a duo relationship for fishing and partners. There's that potential, you know.
Yeah, and touching back into like, you know, doing this for fun as, you know, as a hobby and enjoying it, you know.
That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, that's awesome, guys. That's huge. Now, you have traveled before with the intention being primarily on fishing. What's your favorite spot, Ben?
Idaho.
Yeah.
Idaho. So we can put this in two favorite spots. So it was an East and a West Coast, and definitely I'd say since we've met for sure, West Coast, Idaho, and Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
It's just a very nice ecosystem.
Yeah, there's a plethora of different types of species in there. There's salmon, there's pike, perch, sunfish,
trout,
bass, smallmouth, largemouth, like trout, kokanee, silver, sucker, all sorts of things in there.
And
That's
then
awesome.
like like the bird life too, you know, like the eagles and everything.
What are you going to say for the one over here on the East Coast?
The one that I liked best was Milton Pond. Because of our time there. However, like there's plenty of bodies of water in here, like Maine and Lake Sebago, Lake Winnipesaukee. But then we do a lot of fishing in like small areas too, that are off kind of like the map.
We just pretty much keep the poles in the car in one of our bags or both of our bags even. And if we see something, we'll stop off real quick or see how much time we have. Hey, we could leave an hour early and hit this fishing spot. Okay.
So
It's true though. That's sometimes you uncover like the best kept secret that way, where you're just like, oh, we have to go to this one place. Let's just take a look at Google Maps and see what's nearby. Maybe we can, wet a line and see, we'll get on something.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything that's like on your wish list as far as places anywhere in the world that you want to go and fish? Like a bucket list trip?
Anywhere in the world? Well, I mean, obviously I'd love to just go to the other side of the world and fish, but I'd say Florida, because I've been there a few times, but I've never fished down there.
Yeah.
And that would just be really amazing to do a charter if I don't get seasick and, try to catch some beautiful fish.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And for me, I can't say that there's one specific place, because anywhere I go, my wife knows that I'm game to fish any time of the day.
If the puddle's this deep.
Yeah. And this touches back to my favorite season of the year to fish, because summer, I'll go fish in the middle of the night because it's still 60 degrees out.
Oh, definitely.
So go now, I mean, you could ice fishing, but,
No.
Yeah, that is something else. Let's get into gear. What are you guys bringing out as far as like numbers of combos with you when you're going out on a typical outing?
Typical outing, we each have our own little bag that we strap on our back.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one of those big Bass Pro Shop separator things. And they are all organized with some top waters, crankbait, soft plastic, those sort of things. So I'll bring that and another small one, and then my pliers. And then maybe some of the Dr. Juice Bass Scent stuff. And got his bag.
Yeah, and I'll have the same style bag. I'll have a small little, plastic
I usually have
compartmental container, typical Plano box. And I have a plethora of stuff with range from soft plastics to some maybe like 1 or 2 stick baits to maybe 1 crankbait.
Yep.
Different style jig heads, different style extra wide gap hooks and sizes, multiple drop shot setups, tungsten bullet weights, stuff like that in different sizes. So just because we're always on the move.
Yeah. He's the one I turn to if I need some of the, do you call it terminal gear?
Terminal tackle. Because, for example, like where we are right now, there's so many water bodies, and that could range from, all right, we'll go 4 minutes down the street to a river, and then we'll be in our wader. So like I'll always have something on me with rooster tail, spoon, stuff like that. That will catch any species, but we'll target some trout, and then we'll go out of the waders, go down the street and throw top water for bass. So we try to keep a little bit of something for the time of season and what we're used to with depths and what we have for bodies of water. So
that makes sense. What about rods and reels? Like what are you bringing out for combos? Are you
too many?
Too many. That's what I find though. But
at the same time,
yeah. Although you guys could probably get away with putting together like just an epic, like a rod runner between the two. And, I mean, although you never know, you might have to double up on top water rods or swim bait rods. Just if both of you are throwing that same style. Look at me making all kinds of plans. Is there any, I love this question. It's come up many, many times just in conversation while I'm on the water. And I think this is great. So imagine if you will, that you're going to fish an unnamed body of water, and the only thing you really know about it, it's got a little bit of everything. We'll say it's a medium to large size pond. It's got some rocks, it's got some grass, it's got some lily pads, it's got some submerged timber. It's got a little bit of everything, but it's not like jam packed with weeds where you're going to be throwing a topwater frog the entire time. Nothing like that. It could do anything. Now the challenge is that you get to take the Jigs and Bigs credit card and build your 1 rod and reel combo, and then spool up that line with whatever you're going to spool it with. You can only it's like the 1 rod challenge. What would you guys put together, each of you? Like, how would you lean, and then what would you throw while you're out there as well? And we'll say for weather, it's just partly cloudy with light wind.
Is the wind coming from the northeast or the southeast?
We'll say the wind's coming from the southeast.
Okay. All right. So in that case, I'm just going to stick with what I know here. Okay. I'm just going to grab my lose reel. I can't give you specifics here. And my lose
7.5 to 1 gear ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then it's a bait caster, lose reel.
Yeah. It's on I think it's a 7-foot medium heavy.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to put that braided line on there just in case there's a big one in there.
Sure.
All right. So we put the braided line on, and what am I going to throw? I'm going to have that Zoom frog just in case. But I'm going to throw maybe, let's see, it's kind of heavy. So I'm going to throw, what would I throw? Knowing me, I'm going to throw either probably like a crankbait or something like that, or even put a heavy MEPS on there.
Gotcha.
And throw that in there.
Yeah.
And see what that pulls out. Because like I said, I can do some crazy stuff with like a MEPS or a rooster tail through.
That's what I'm saying. Like you mentioned throwing a spoon or a rooster tail into lilies. I'm like, that's impressive. Like that is confidence. When you're like, I'm getting this back, that's amazing. Because I throw a chatterbait into some weeds and I'm like, bye. Or I'm going swimming.
Yeah, or something along those lines with those types of lures is that they can be thrown in certain areas with, vegetation like that. And that comes down to, her being able to know the lure and know its path of travel. And you can control the lure,
Yeah.
So I would do if anything, and one rod all around go-to, it would definitely be a 7-foot. It'd probably be a medium or medium heavy.
Yep.
It would definitely probably be a St. Croix rod. I have a bunch of the Mojo Bass rods. So does she.
Yep.
But they've never failed me. They've always been durable. But it would be a 7-foot medium to medium heavy with anywhere between 10 to 15 pound test, either mono or fluoro. And that would just allow me to throw a plethora of lures, whether we soft plastic or a stick bait or some of her lures like the Zoom frog. The reason being is because you can throw a lot of stuff. So
yeah, I'm with you. I get that. I love asking that question because you nailed it. It's about the versatility. You got to be able to throw the stuff that you're comfortable with, but generally speaking, any angler is going to have a little bit of a handful of things that they can go. And I'm always interested to see what that one like really versatile rod is going to be, what they choose. If they're going to choose, a bait caster versus a spinning combo and what the reason is behind that. Line selection, I think, is amazing. I think it says a lot, about the way somebody fishes. And then I ask about the lures just because I kind of want to know like where people are with all that stuff. So very, very great answer, guys. Last question, or last like official question here. They say, all right, so aside from actually like going out and buying fishing gear or literally going outside to fish, how is it that fishing has sort of made itself part of your everyday lifestyle? Like to where like somebody that you're talking to might say like, oh yeah, you're into fishing, where without even having to say like, oh, I like to fish, they would just get that. How has it kind of created a part of your lifestyle?
Okay, go ahead.
How is it part of my lifestyle? I like to watch it on TV. So it starts with at home trying to find fishing because it's not really on TV much, but everywhere I drive, I see water and I think of fishing.
Oh, I'd say too, every time that we're fishing somewhere he's a firefighter. And so anytime the engine comes by or somebody comes by that knows his car, they're kind of like, oh, there's Moy out fishing again, Yeah.
I don't know, as like a work aspect, I don't just think of fishing when I'm not at work. Like sometimes I'll be at work and we'll do our dive training drills. So I'll be underwater diving and like some bluegill will come swim up to me and I'll see them, and then I'll see little bass swimming around and stuff. So like then I'm thinking while I'm working, like, oh, it'd be nice to be fishing.
Exactly.
The report when he comes home is not like, oh, dive training was great. Oh, I saw a sunfish and I saw a bass.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then for me, I work in a hospital, and there's this one MA. It's so funny. She hears me talk about fishing all the time to like the patients, because I see a patient every hour or so. she hears that all the time, or she hears me talk to one of the cardiologists about it all the time. And I'll be talking to the EKG tech next to her, and she's like, so how often are you fishing? Like and we're like, oh, pretty much every day. I go home because I'm off, maybe around 2 PM, and we get out there and fish, She's like, oh, geez. And I was like, oh, and I got some fish socks, and I showed her my fish socks, and she's like, oh my gosh, so it's just kind of, everybody knows, because it's just what I talk about.
Exactly.
Me and my husband, we're going fishing on this weekend we got a place, or, we went fishing this last weekend. Look at these pictures. They're like, oh, we don't care. And I'm like, okay.
It's true though. I've been showing off, pictures of what I thought were just epic catches, and you get that like glazed over look in somebody's face. They're like, great.
Or you get that. How do you go fishing? It's so boring. Just standing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I love that. I love when people say it's boring. I'm like, you have no idea.
Yeah, you are not addicted.
You're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. So, guys, go ahead. This is your opportunity. Let people know where they can find you, if you find your content, if they're interested in following you, checking out some more stuff. Let them know. This is your opportunity to promote yourself a little bit.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Well, let's see. So angler_duo. That's how you're going to find us. And it's just myself, my husband, and the dog. And we are only on Instagram. So that is the only platform we play on. We don't do anything else. So that's the only place you're going to find us. No YouTube, no nothing like that currently. No merchandise, even though some people are asking for it. Yeah. Crazy.
They really do. It's mind-blowing. The people just love to rep stuff they care about.
Yeah. And we're just like, okay, cool. We'll look into it, So Instagram is the only place. And as far as our content, we throw out there too. If there's anything you want to see, let us know. We're open to suggestions. We're not pros.
Yeah.
We're just having fun.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. You guys are killing it, man. Congratulations on your first year of marriage. I think this is huge. You guys are absolutely a little round of applause for you guys. Anyway, Rhia, Justin, this was really awesome. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I think you and I had spoken a little bit earlier about that bottle opener, Rhia, this week, right? Yeah, that's right. Very nice. Yep. Drop shot girl. Good stuff. Good stuff. I want to get one of her signs for our bathroom, but I'm not sure which one I want to get necessarily. And again, because my wife doesn't fish at all, but I'm pretty sure I know how it would play out if I could get her fishing. I'd love to get her on the kayak. I would love that. I think that would be a game changer for her, but
absolutely, I think so. Well,
unbelievable.
If you guys ever want to, and this COVID thing is over, then let's go fishing.
100%. I'm definitely down for that. And you guys, I mean, I love connecting with New England anglers anytime. So awesome, guys. Well, hey, here's to 2021 being an amazing fishing year for everybody. Cheers. And thank you guys so much for doing this. This was really, really great.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Take care now. You have yourself a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See, guys, I knew, you guys were going to fall in love with Angling Duo very much in the way that I hope it's not in the way that they love each other. That's a little bit awkward and weird, if I'm being honest. But I mean, they're an amazing couple. They've got some really great goals for fishing, and check out their content. Go and check out their Instagram page, and they got some great photos out there. They hit the bank and they hit it hard. I mean, they get out there, waders and everything, no issues getting into the water and making shit happen. So good to have you guys on, both of you, Rhia and Justin. Thanks so much. This has been an amazing show. Our conversation about the goals and about resolutions for fishing for 2021, very, very exciting, very cool. Sean had the very dramatic cliffhanger of an ending for the December edition of the Chronic Trips multi-species tournament. That was intense, man. It totally was. And like the stories. This is a pretty good episode.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this this morning before we started recording. We always say that the Chronic Trips tournament is a really good way to start fishing tournaments. And I for some reason, I got a wild hair, and I was thinking, why do we say that? What is the reason? We've never really explained why.
That's a good idea.
And I think doing all the setup, doing all the setup and the preparation for the MAKB West division or the Western division.
Yep.
I thought about all the requirements an angler has to have to be a part of that part of that trail. You have to be on a kayak.
Yep.
And, kind of kayak is debatable. That's in the rules. You have to have a catchboard. That's not debatable. You have to
wear a PFD.
You have to wear a PFD.
Yep.
You have to be a member. If you want to go further in KBF events, which these flow into, you have to be a member of that.
Yep.
So there's a lot of cost, and there's a lot of, equipment and cost with that. And, tournament anglers are tournament anglers. It's less than a bass boat, but it's still, as much as you want to put into it. The chronic trips isn't.
Yeah.
Whatever you have, you can take a rod, a reel, and some worms, and you can go out and compete in that tournament.
Yeah. You can do
and that's
anything.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're saying, I'm sorry.
No. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's that truly is the most accessible competitive fishing is, whether, we talk about, the time of year and how it is a nationwide tournament. There are parts of this country that are never going to see ice, so they're able to get out and fish open water all year round. It's so inclusive that it actually is set up with a pretty ingenious point system that allows for you to fish both fresh and salt water and brackish water and win some points. And I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that if people start catching a bunch of like redfish or a bunch of drum or something, maybe a species that we don't really see up here in the Northeast too often, but if people are entering those regularly in the NE5, it's very possible that we'll see them in their own category, which would then make the point different, the situation with points even more exciting, because now you've got multiple places to place those species. So it's not just a largemouth tournament. It's open to anything, whatever is in your wheelhouse. I mean, look how many times has Mark won this sucker, and he's primarily a trout fisherman, and I think most people that enter lean toward fishing for bass heavily. I mean, bass is, the most popular sport fish that's out there. It's just but he was able to win it, catching these killer trout. So it's like this really is for everybody, Yeah,
that's that. I really thought about that after seeing the contrast of what really needs to happen if you want to be a participant in the in the kayak tournament stuff. It's more specialized. This one is not, and I think I've actually gotten some feedback from some of the contestants on my judging skills for that, and it is going to be a different game in MAKB. I need to make that point, but I'm a lot more lenient with chronic trips because, I think we pushed last time with either a hog trough or a catch board, but I'm not going to turn someone down for turning in the a fish with one of those straight rulers that you and I have both used in the past, or laser etched. I always say, hey, can you try to get one down the road? But it's not mandatory. I just like to see it's really that vertical edge. It just makes it easier on the the judging and the honestly the competitor. You fished with both. You know how easy it is to get a fish into either a hog trough or a catch board. Yeah. So this is a night, like I said, anybody wants to consider getting into this. I mean, you got to keep in mind there are competitive anglers in it, but as far as goal setting, we heard from a couple of our listeners that they wanted to get into a tournament this year, right?
This is a great way to do it.
Start with that. What's your goal? I want to catch one fish in 3 categories. I want to catch a bass, a chain pickerel, and a perch. Those are usually the 3 most common fish we catch around here. Bam! See where you land up. Right off the bat, there's 3 points for your tournament. Plus, you're going to catch multiples of probably largemouth. Yeah. So now you're in the NE4 or NE5 category.
Absolutely.
Those points add up. Maybe you say, hey, I want to just get 5 points. Catch a bass, a perch, a pickerel, a bluegill, and enter a fish in NE5. There's 5 points. Even if you're not the top 3, there's your 5 points. There's a goal.
Absolutely. And if you do that, if you do that and you're catching, fish of size and culling out the smaller ones, it would amaze you how quickly you can advance. With the multi-species fishing, it really is. I think when, Sean will say this often, just like keep fishing, just get out there and do what you're doing and just, remember to charge your phone and have your board with you, and anything that you catch within the terms of the tournament, it's an 8-inch minimum, that is going to be easier or harder for you to hit depending on the species that we're talking about. 8-inch bluegill, as we've learned, are kind of a kick in the pants. But, it makes it realistic for everybody.
And you know what? This is going to be a little screw turning here.
Yep.
But you and I both know we keep an eye on, it's not often. I don't go, with my social media habits, I'm not like prowling the internet. But every now and again, I'll see a post from some of the local fishing sites. And there's some big fish being caught that nobody's putting in for tournaments.
It's
and I'm just
true.
like, wow. Obviously, as a tournament director, I want to see as much involvement as I can.
Yep.
But I'll on the same coin as on the other side of it. I'm like, wow, I'm glad that fish wasn't entered.
Yeah, absolutely. You're
some
right.
Massive carp and pike being pulled out of the Connecticut River over the past couple months, even in the cold. And I'm like, holy cats, that guy could have had a lot of money for that fish, or not money. That guy could have been awarded prizes, for that fish. But yeah, I want involvement. Anybody who's listening, jump in, man. It's easy. It's not expensive. It's not going to kill you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the requirements to get into it are so wide open. It literally is what, a $25 entry fee? I think.
Yeah, it's in the neighborhood of $25.
Yeah, I mean and if you don't have a catch board, or if you don't have the appropriate measuring tape, the nice thing is about Chronic Trips is that they are relatively lenient with them, but you can actually order a hog trough right through Fish Donkey. I think it's like $15, and you can get that sucker shipped right to your house, and then you can be in it and ready to go. So I mean, we're talking, we're going to have one in February, right?
Yep, February.
Yeah, February. So go ahead and, look into it now. And that information will be posted up on the Fish Donkey app. You go ahead and download the Fish Donkey app and then just do a search for Chronic Trips. It's all right there. There is a lot of anglers that I think could make a great day of fishing like even more interesting by jumping in and getting on this. And I think it's 100% the way to go.
Yeah, and the thing to always keep in mind with any sort of competitive angling, I had to go through this. Bobby, you're probably in the middle of going through it, reevaluating, and I know we talked enough about competitive fishing with you, but you're going forward and you're learning and just doing your thing, right? But when you go into a tournament, if you've never fished tournaments before, every angler thinks they're just going to go in and make a dent. And that's good. It's positive. You want to go in there and visualize yourself going in there, and I'm going to show these guys, and I'm going to really take, go in there. But sometimes the level of competition can be high.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how does one respond to it? Are you going to freak out and say, I'm never doing another tournament? Or, are you going to say, okay, what can I learn from this and go on to the next one?
That's exactly it. You got to go back and look at it and say, like, you got to evaluate. Just like if you're recording all this data while you're out there fishing, it's not doing you any good if you don't look back at it. It's just like taking notes in a class. If you're not going to read those notes, don't take them. You know what I mean? There is one thing that I did want to throw out before we wrap the show. So last week, Sean and I had did a little bit of talking about the conversation was really about a food challenge that we had done last year, a fishing challenge, a competition, if you will, between a group of friends, and we had a blast doing it. And Sean had mentioned he wanted to get into it, and we had thrown around the idea to kind of like up the ante. We're thinking about going with Rocky Mountain oysters. Now, for those that don't know what Rocky Mountain oysters are, they're deep fried bull testicles. Is what they are. And there's two things that I kind of want to throw out there for a call to action. We really want to make this happen. If you are in the New England area, if you're in Massachusetts and would be game, or we'll say this. If you are game to realistically be a licensed angler in Massachusetts for this endeavor, we invite you to come and be a part of it. I think we definitely should. This is, of course, all hoping that our situation with COVID and everything will allow for it, but we'd love for people to get involved with this. Could be a lot of fun. So you can reach out and do that there. We got to name this son of a bitch. We got to name this thing. So
I think we got our primary candidate.
I know what our primary candidate is. My question is this. What do you think a good secondary candidate from that list would be? What's your next favorite one, Sean? Because I'm completely out of I could go in any which direction here.
There was a lot of them.
There were a lot of them.
We could. Why don't?
I'm going to go ahead and announce the first one. Okay, the first. Okay. I think the leader, the one that we love, I think the most, is Boats and Scroats. I love it. Hang on. Hang on. Yes.
2 rounds.
2 rounds.
Oh, and they think it's funny
good.
too.
It's good, yes. Boats and scroats, baby. Boats and scroats. Okay, so that's the one that we think is best, and I don't want to influence you in any way. But I know that we had one that was like what was it? LMDs. We had another one that was what it was we had LMDs, we had some kind of a balls deep tournament, something like that. There was some sort of reference to balls deep.
That one was good.
There were a lot. I mean, what is there another one that jumps out to you that you remember from last week?
No, I can't remember yesterday.
I know, man. We really should have talked about this beforehand. But so what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to throw a poll on Instagram, and I just want to see what we should call this. I'm going to come up with an alternative. It might end up being LMDs. LMDs. That might be the alternative right there. So we're going to put a poll up on our Instagram page. If you follow us on Instagram, we're going to put the poll on our story. Go ahead and vote what name you think. Should we go Boats and Scroats, or should we go LMDs? Or I'm going to go over the thread of conversation, and if there was something else that's better than LMDs, I'll put that in there. But we're going to leave this up to you guys and see what it is. I have a strong feeling Boats and Scroats it hits it, on all notes. Like, it's perfect.
Boats, scroats, and good notes.
Boats, scroats, and good notes. I think this is going to be great. So the second part of this is this. I'm not looking to cook ball testicles. I'll
cook them.
If we're doing this is going to be done with some professional level kitchen fuckery. Like I'm talking about a professional chef, somebody who is trained and knows what they're doing, because I have a strong feeling we're not going to be able to just cook a pair of ball nuts and then the loser eats those. I have a strong feeling that there's going to be a little too much group participation and curiosity to want to sample them. So I think we're going to need somebody to make a batch of the bull nuts.
Okay, so I'm going to be involved in that process when we do the interviews.
No, 100%.
Yes, I have to.
Absolutely. Which is not a problem at all. But I'd like to bring somebody out. And the reason why I say I'd like to do this is if you know a chef that works in a kitchen, like somebody who's got something, like who works in a kitchen, somebody who's got a part or a caterer or something, I want to help a local business. That's why I want to do it this way. So if you've got somebody who maybe has like a food truck or something along those lines, jump in our DMs and make a suggestion. I'd love to have somebody come in. Bull nuts are pretty, low level as far as demand. I think we'll have no problem acquiring them. And a lot of that's going to fall on us. But what I'm looking is for somebody to bring their recipe, bring their A game, bring their own testicular fortitude, if you will. Although, what if we have a woman as a chef? It could. Who knows how this is going to play? So if you know somebody who works in a restaurant and is just unbelievably skilled in the kitchen, I want to help out a local business. I want to bring them into it, and I think it would be amazing to kind of make this happen.
Just thinking about this now.
Yeah,
I had two non-fishermen relatives and acquaintances that are chefs, so I could talk to them. I don't know how much they want to be involved in this, but why have we not brought this up to Brock?
Oh, you know what? That's true.
Brock, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
Talk to us about balls. Yeah.
Brock, how schooled are you when it comes to organ meats?
Brock, have you fired up a taint or two in your day?
That's awful. Like that, I foresee it. Like I show up with a bottle of Da Bomb hot sauce, which is, one of it's known as being like a killer. Like it is just deadly, and every single one of us ate chips with Da Bomb on them and paid the price. I have a feeling if we get, like a bunch of people together and we do this, let's say it's a dozen people who are involved, I have a feeling that most of them are going to be like, oh, I'll try the ball nuts. I'll try the bull nuts. It'll be fine, and give them a shot. But I don't know.
Our audience is team players, a whole group of them.
Yeah.
Our audience are team players. Our audience is team players. I'm having very, bad English problems today.
It's okay. It's all right.
Whatever. It's all good. Now, the big question is,
Yep.
does this make us half-ass shock jocks?
Oh yeah, 100%. Without a doubt. Was there ever any? Are you kidding me? and you know what? The thing is, I'm okay with that. Like I like being the fishing podcast that's hosted by a couple of freaking yahoos. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, really, this thing opened up, and I went blue in what, a minute? It was right off the bat, F2020. So this is what we do. This is how we roll.
Yeah, it's true.
All right.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get the balls going.
All right, guys. So yeah, jump in our DMs over on Instagram or contact us over at jigsandbigs.com using the contact form, or email jigsandbigs413@gmail.com. Would love to get some feedback of who we should have. Who should be the chef that's putting together this culinary delight, this craft appetizer, if you will, this not so appetizing craft appetizer, if you know. Oh, it could be good.
He is the one who is the ball cooker.
He is the one. He is the one who is the ball cooker. What is wrong with us? Jeez.
Well, you know where I'm referencing, right?
Oh, I know exactly what you're referencing.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, just making sure.
No.
Universe. All right, just making sure. You threw one by me the other day. I balked on. And
yeah. Oh, we are the ones. Oh my goodness. Good stuff. Good stuff. All righty, guys. Well, I think that about does it. Does that do it for us, Sean? Or are we good?
How can we top that?
I don't think we can. I really don't think that we can. I think that's the show. Thanks so much, guys. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you guys had a wonderful and safe New Year experience. 2021 is going to be a great one. I know we're really excited. It's going to be a great one for the show, but I also think for fishing, just in general, we see a lot of new people that have a lot of interest in getting out there on the water, catching some fish, having their own little adventure, and I think that's just going to carry on for a good portion of those people. Let's hope that things kind of improve as far as being able to, do events and gather and things sooner rather than later. That would be fantastic. But you know what? We'll see it from there. So, guys, one more thing. What do we got?
Next week, we're going to have something for the audience.
Next week, we will have something for the audience.
We're going to have a report on duck quesadillas.
That's very true.
There's your teaser. I'm sorry I forgot that.
I'm very much looking forward to that. And honestly, a little. I'm just gonna pop the beef curtain to the side a little bit here.
What noise does that make? Is that like?
Wow. Oh. Okay. Okay. I don't have a.
Oh hell no! That works.
That works. Okay, I'll pop that in there. I think. So giving you guys a little bit of feedback. Sean and I have a meeting coming up, and I'm not going to get into the details with this, but this is kind of one of those meetings where the possibilities are kind of endless. This could lead to a lot of amazing things. It's a relationship we're hoping that will lead down a road that will be a whole lot of fun. We'll see what happens. And the duck quesadillas, we'll be talking about those duck quesadillas no matter what. Again, will it be out of jubilance where we're like, yeah, we're celebrating? Or is it going to be that we're going to drown our sorrows in duck fat? I'm okay with both.
I can tell you this. This little meeting, there will be no talk of shitter. There will be no talk of bull balls.
Nope.
We will not be bringing it up. If someone wants to bring it up during the conversation,
if they bring it up, I'm open to go down that road.
Yeah, that's. Hey, you gotta wait for the traffic cop to tell you which way to drive, right?
They gotta open the door. Yeah, absolutely. So, unbelievable, man. Unfreaking believable. So yeah, that is coming up. That is happening over this weekend. So by next episode, you're gonna know what the situation is with the duck quesadillas. Were we celebrating or were we not? We'll find out. So hopefully we have a huge announcement for you. Hopefully. All right, guys. Until next week, you guys have yourself a fantastic week. Consider your goals. Let us know if because the story had ended on our Instagram. If there's some goals you want to share with us, feel free to DM us, contact us. Let us know where you're at as far as what you're thinking. Remember, guys, it's not always about breaking those records. It's about challenging yourself. Get out there, challenge yourself, fish in uncomfortable situations, and what you walk away from from all that is going to benefit you in the long run overall. You're going to break those records all by themselves. Have a great one, everybody. Enjoy your time out on the water. Be safe. Tight lines.
Duck quesadillas, duck quesadillas. I don't give a duck. I don't give a duck. I don't give a duck. I don't give a duck.